Biden for his friendship and support. Wednesday, Netanyahu will address a joint meeting of Congress. Some Democratic lawmakers plan to boycott, upset over the war in Gaza's effect on Palestinian civilians. The Secret Service director will testify this morning at a House hearing about security lapses in the Trump assassination attempt. Republican James Comer, chair of the Oversight Committee, tells Fox,
"The American people have lots of questions, and they deserve answers."
Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle has resisted lawmakers' calls to resign. America's listening to Fox News.
Well, summer's here and the weather is beautiful. Everyone has a favorite outdoor activity: golf, bike riding, bird watching, long walks. Ask 100 people, you'll get 100 answers. But if everyday aches and pains are keeping you on the sidelines, I have one answer: Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. Wherever you're hurting, back, neck, joints, or muscles, in 3 weeks or less, you'll start to feel the difference all day, every day. So whatever you like to do, swimming, pickleball, hanging out in the garden, Relief Factor can help you feel good again and let you enjoy all your favorite outdoor activities all summer long. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. Monday, a fun Monday, a busy Monday. Lot to talk about on a Monday when Biden makes history. We'll get to some of that in just a little bit. First, let's go around the room, see how everybody is. Rhino coming back from Nash Vegas.
Nash Vegas, yeah, it was a fun little place, man. I actually really love Nashville. Tennessee in general, I mean, it's just such a great state. But yeah, had a really good weekend. Just kind of hung out with some friends, drank a few pops.
Attaboy.
Yeah, swam in a pool, acted like children. You know, whenever you get old people together and there are no kids, no one around. Yeah, we just kind of had fun trying to do crazy things off of paddle boards, like cartwheels, which, by the way, I cannot do.
Well, it's good that you tried.
Yeah, but we had a good time.
There you go.
Enjoyed
I like it.
Yeah.
That's good news. Front office, Los, welcome back, buddy.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Joe Biden's out. You don't care what I was up to.
I do.
You shouldn't give an S about that.
Oh, I do, though, because I care about your
was shaken for the second time, third time in a week as of yesterday afternoon.
That's the truth, man. 2 weekends in a row, we had an assassination attempt and now a president drop out. Do y'all think, here's what I think, because his aides knew nothing of it, you know, the folks around him knew nothing of it. You know, the Politico's reporting that no one had any idea about a minute before.
Campaign manager, VP, reportedly no one was informed.
Yesterday, some of the surrogates, do you have this audio yesterday on Face the Nation? A leader in the Democrat Party said this.
Has Joe Biden lost control of the Democratic Party?
No, he's not. And he's heard those concerns. And I want to be crystal clear. He's made a decision. And that decision is to accept the nomination and run for re-election, win re-election. And I think that there are those out there that need to hear it again, that he made a decision. He's going to be the candidate. He's going to be the next president. And now it's time to focus on the threat that Donald Trump poses and what the extreme agenda is on the other side.
A couple hours later, that was not the case. So I think they physically threatened, we're going to invoke the 25th. This, you either get the hell out now, or we're going to use this against you.
Legally, and I brought this up last week, legally Joe Biden held all the cards in this. Mm-hmm. It was going to have to come down to one of two things, 25th Amendment or you get out.
Yeah.
That was it. That's the only way this could play. This was not going to play out in any other form or fashion. So it leads me to believe that at a certain point, you had Joe Biden recognize there is no way out of this. Here's the move I'm going to make.
I mean, I've been pretty strong in saying that he will drop out of this race. He will not be the nominee come the DNC convention. And I don't believe a word they say about him making this decision last minute on Sunday. Friday, Axios reported that he'll drop out Sunday, gave you all the details of it. I've been saying it from the beginning that once he gets everything that he needs from them, when he holds that last trump card and says, this is what I want, my son will be pardoned, I will not be held responsible for any of the crimes that I may have or may not, and that's all alleged. We don't know if there were any crimes. times, but until he gets his golden parachute, until he gets what he wants and Jill wants, he will not step out of the race. But it was already done and decided, and now what do we need to do come Sunday to go ahead and make this announcement? And that's exactly what happened.
And think
It
about
was such a simple, like just the letter, which is not even on official letterhead. I mean, it's like a third grader did it at the very last second.
Well, I asked this question in all seriousness. Where is Joe Biden?
No,
Delaware.
He's in Delaware. He's got a cough.
No. The idea that we are not seeing an American president step
it's
out
coming.
and say,
Rose, don't worry.
I am not
It's coming
going
later in
to
the week."
seek re-election. You can go back
it's
over the
embarrassing.
last 60, 70 years. Whenever we've had this scenario happen, this is a major announcement where a president gets up in front of the American people and decides, I will not seek re-election for this office. Where is Joe Biden?
You'll see from him a little later in the week. Los, you're acting like this is a big deal.
It takes a little bit
Here's
of time.
the COVID cover.
Yeah,
exactly.
COVID.
It takes a little bit of time to get that AI perfect, to make it sound just like him, look just like him, to get it out there. I mean, there are a lot of rumors floating around there that, maybe he already passed away, whatever it may be. I don't believe any of
crap
this.
I've ever heard.
I believe that they are trying.
607, we got in the first conspiracy theory.
I don't. Right. And again, I don't believe any of that. What I do
You
believe.
just bring it up.
Bring it up.
I don't believe it, but I'm bringing it up.
No, what I'm saying is, it's out there. People are putting it out there all over. We got an email.
Trump wasn't shot either.
Did you guys get an email? Did you guys get an email with someone from our own place saying, hey, this is the conspiracy theory going on right now?
No.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? It's in our thing.
It's in your thing.
It's in our email.
I'll check it out.
Okay, it's right here. You want me to read it to you and show you all the Twitters?
No,
So
we're
this
not
is what-
playing into conspiracy theory this morning.
Exactly, and neither am I. That's why I said, don't believe this. What I do believe is that they're getting ready. They're cutting up what they need him to do and what they need him to say. We know he can't speak for a long time. So what they're doing is they're filming it. They're getting it ready. It'll probably be out by Thursday when he sits there in front. And maybe they need to get him back to Washington, D.C. But all the rumors that are going around that he's already gone.
AI, you could just make him look like he's in Washington.
Well, I don't think they'll do an AI. I think what they're going to do is make him get in front of the... I would hope that they would do, like Carlos said, you're used to them coming in and saying right off the bat, hey, we're breaking into news. Here's a press conference. And then you go right at it. This is a weird scenario only because he was in Delaware. He wasn't at home. They were trying to go over everything. Now they got to get him back to Washington, D.C. because I think the only professional way to do this is from the Oval Office.
This should be from the Oval Office.
But
First and foremost,
but it
should be
should
from the
have
Oval
been
Office.
from the Oval Office to begin with. It shouldn't have been a letter that wasn't on letterhead that looks
It's
like,
so strange.
again, in crayon.
And this comes back to, can you imagine, even as of Sunday morning, and I'm right there with Rhino, when Axios had this story, I got up Sunday morning and I told my wife, well, today's the day. Apparently Joe's going to be checking out of this thing. Again, this was in the morning, and like 6 hours later, this is exactly what happens. But think about all those people that have been carrying the water for this man
Like
for the
the
better
guy
part
who
of 4
just
years.
played.
Who's flat out telling you,
Cedric, whatever his last name
he's
is.
going to run. He's going to win. He's the smartest he's ever been. How damaging has it been to not only the news media, but just to government in general of buying into the things they tell you over the last 4 years?
It destroys the credibility of
All of it.
mainstream media. Anybody who still watches mainstream media for any reason whatsoever, you know you're being led around by your nose. So why would you watch it? Why give them your time? Why help them earn so much money?
And I think the letter plays right into this. I'm looking at it, I'm reading it, and my first thought was, man, Joe's going to be pissed when he finds out that he's not running.
Right.
You know, it just didn't feel
Yeah.
like the way it's supposed to when you decide you're bowing out of a race as an American president, okay? The highest office in the land, perhaps the most important man in the world, bows out with a letter on Sunday and no actual view of who he is.
Yeah, I think it took a long time for Jill to help him formulate this letter and put it together. And, she probably was the one who wrote everything for him, or someone from the campaign.
I would think a doctor could do a little better than that.
Well, yeah, obviously, especially a doctor of education,
For
right?
sure.
Yes,
Rhino, yes.
She should be able to write a better letter than that. But you know what? Maybe they actually let him write this letter. And part of the reason is because, hey, let them see. This is why he's stepping down. This is why he's stepping aside. But the reality of it is we know exactly what the Democrats are doing. they're playing the game. They're going to install who they want to install. They've made it clear with endorsements right away that Kamala has the endorsement. I was kind of surprised that Joe Biden did come out with that right away. That was kind of concerning.
On Twitter, immediately, he endorses Kamala Harris. And, like my wife asked me this question. She was like, so does that just mean it's Kamala's deal? And I was like, no. We got to get to convention. She's got to win. She's got to, she's got to go through the process. She's got to be nominated. She's got to be, get the delegates and all that. And I think a lot of people have confusion about that. And we'll talk to a lawyer, an election lawyer named Brian Tyson. We've had him on the show before. I think he can answer a lot of great questions and shed a lot of light on this process.
Yeah, because now we get into the realm of legally, what ballots can you be on? Mm-hmm. Just remember, we are talking about 14 million primary voters that voted for Joe, although, granted, they did kind of play some games with that to make sure Joe was basically your only option, very communist state of it. But that's 14 million voters that legally, this is the name that's supposed to appear on the ballot unless he has a 25th Amendment or he dies.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge for them right now is to make sure that every delegate is on the same page, which is why you're seeing such a push for Kamala right now. They want the delegates to make this decision, to make it look like this is democracy. You have to have all those delegates vote. 3,900 of them have to vote for Kamala Harris overwhelmingly. She's got to win by 50%. If she doesn't, then you have to call in the super delegates. Once those super delegates come in, once again, you've got to re-go to the ballot and see if they all vote overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. That's why they're pushing so hard. That's why you saw Stacey Abrams come out of nowhere yesterday and throw out her endorsement. You're going to start seeing...
I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
178 to be exact.
Oh, well, she's playing for what? VP pick, because something. I mean, in reality, if you think about it, it would be good to have two women of color on the same exact ballot. It would really, energize that vote for them. At least they feel that way. I don't see it that way.
I'm disliked women, though. That's strongly disliked.
But I bring this up because then this was a discussion that happened on Friday when I was still trying to navigate my way through the airport. I had one of our listeners ask, okay, so what do you think the plan is? And I talked about how if you have aspirations for 2028, you do not want to be part of this ballot.
Don't want to touch it with a 10-foot ball.
But if you're trying to energize the base to turn out to hopefully get to challenge in the House and hold on to the Senate, you need to create a ballot that some of the normies on their end will get excited about. And two women, now at the time it was Gretchen Whitmer, but I was like, I don't think that Gretchen would get involved in this.
Yeah,
but I'm right there with Rhino. The idea of running two women, at least it creates this, I'm woman, hear me roar. Let me go vote for them, despite the fact that they're not likable.
Hillary Clinton's another name that keeps popping up, which is funny. Can you imagine?
She's all around this thing.
Dude, I tell you, she's as well liked as Stacey Abrams is. I mean, she at least has a following. At least she ran and was in a general election and lost to Trump, but I mean, has the experience of actually running.
The challenge is that ego would never allow her.
No
one wants to be under Kamala Harris. That's another end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way. Hillary Clinton's never liked Kamala Harris, has made it pretty clear, and then only supporting her now at this point. I don't imagine that. I mean, the reality of it is Gavin Newsom doesn't want to be a part of this. He's not ready for a part of this. Now, if they make him or force him to, at least there's someone who, and he's already endorsed her, so maybe he's part of that ticket. And that's something that they look at and say, hey, we don't have a chance to win the presidency this year, but can we get Gavin Newsom as a vice president? Because even if Kamala loses, I think he's got a chance to rerun in 2028. Kind of shields him a little bit. That's the only other option I could see them trying to push through. But otherwise, I don't think Gretchen Whitmer, I think she's a little too good for them to use right now, and it gives them an option to run her as a presidential candidate as a female once again in 2028.
We always talk about how these elections come down to a handful of counties. Here's what it happens, where it's basically 51-49 either way every single time, and oftentimes the Democrats are going to win the popular vote. All right, the question ends up becoming this: who wants to be the Democrat nominee to Kamala Harris if they decide to go down that road when they take a bath? Like if you get beat narrowly just like every other, well then I think, hey, if you're the vice president and it's respectable, and hey, Gavin Newsom, reload and go back at it again in 2028. You're going to start campaigning by 2026 as a former VP candidate. What happens when your ticket gets smashed?
Yeah,
and that's the fear. That's the fear on their side.
If I'm Newsom, I don't want any part of this.
No way.
Zero part of this.
No way.
If I'm a young, up-and-coming, maybe, I would say like a progressive like AOC. I think AOC even was smart enough to say, hey, I'm going to step back from
Clear this deck. I don't want part of this. I'll see you on the next ticket.
Exactly. So maybe they look for somebody who's not as well known. Again, kind of like Barack Obama in 2008 wasn't really well known. I mean, that's kind of where Kamala is at this point. She's a little bit more well known now running than Barack Obama was. But maybe find a young progressive that they think, hey, she could help energize this party as well. And also because they're going to run on emotion. They have nothing else to run on. So they're going to run on women's rights more than anything else. And of course, Project 2025. So you need to find someone that will run that message with Kamala Harris.
But think about the timing of this. All right, Barack Obama got up in front of the Democrat National Convention in 2004 and then had 4 years of everyone telling you this is the next big thing. This is the greatest thing that America has ever produced. Look at this young man. This is going to be amazing. Look at his family. All right, they have 4 months.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that pushed him out. They're the ones that pushed Biden out.
I mean, this is going to be a scenario of whatever you try and create, you have to sell to the American people. Because basically you have early voting gets going in about 4 months. You're going to have to sell to the American people that, and again, I don't think this has to do with the White House. I think this has to do with the House and the Senate. How do you get people to turn out for a ticket that largely gets a lot of yawns?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
4 months.
Yeah, and
4 months.
You do have, you do have a lapdog media that is willing to take every story to the masses.
Your audio earlier is perfect example.
That's the thing. They will take whatever message and run with it, and there will be people that buy into it and believe it. So they do have a little bit of a leg up in the promotion department, if nothing else.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And the media will continue to push this, and it'll make it look like it's a great thing to have her step up and, continue the fight for Joe Biden, because what she needs to run on now is what they've run on, that Joe Biden, mentally fit or not, has been the best president when it comes to getting things done in his first 3.5 years. So now they're going to try to attach Kamala Harris to that. The Republicans' job is to say, this woman couldn't even show up for the border when it was the most urgent thing to American people. She was the border czar, couldn't handle that job. How can we trust her to handle the United States?
Yeah, that border.
I don't know how you do.
The border czar is going to be the
Achilles heel, if there is one.
That is.
I mean, there's many, but that's the main one.
Well, that's the albatross. That is the Achilles heel. In addition to that, also make it a point to Democrat voters if she happens to be the nominee. Again, this is unprecedented. This is going to be crazy the way it goes. She couldn't get 1% last time around.
Right.
Of her own voters.
Yeah, she may not be able to. She may not be able to whip anybody in shape behind her now, right now.
And I would ask voters right now, if I'm a Republican, tell me about the legislation that she's brought forth. Tell me about her record. What is her record? Because the record we know is when she was in California. And that record shows that she jailed people, that she, and you're starting to see it already, people putting out there about, some of the laws and keeping people in jail and the marijuana laws that she fought and put people in jail. That's what they're going to have to, kind of go at her with, because otherwise there's no record for her to really run with.
Which is...
Except I was VP.
Yeah, except that, but, I guess...
There's some pull there. There's pull there.
Absolutely. With the media behind you, I think you can get away with it. But when all of the things about her start piling up, and they will, just the nonsense that she says,
Let her talk.
Yes.
Exactly.
In circles.
Just let her talk.
just like a crazy person like she is.
I mean, Hillary had the same problem. The more she talked, the more the poll numbers dropped. Let her talk in front of people and watch what happens.
I think the difference in Hillary and her is both let them talk, yes. But Hillary had that high-pitched squeal that just was like nails on a chalkboard.
It's very Nurse Ratched.
And then with Kamala, it's like Rhino said, just in circles. Yep. I mean, it just goes nowhere. So it's equally annoying, but it's not as off-putting as maybe Hillary was.
Rhino and I are unburdened by what can be.
What can be. And that's a good thing. Kamala Harris has 178 endorsements already and has won the same amount of delegates that you, me, Rhino, Los, and everybody listening right now have won. None. What to expect in the next few days is the discussion. Next, we'll get the headlines, too. This is the Morning Extra on a historic Monday, following just unprecedented things for the last 2 weeks. Glad that you've been here with us for it on Extra 106.3.
Hey, it's the Kimmer. Look out. The Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6, just like the Kimmer.
But after 4 years of not attacking him and only attacking Trump, now they've gotten the go-ahead.
The late-night people are down on the list of those who should be ashamed of their last 8 years of behavior. The number one people who should be ashamed is the mainstream media, and the social media of this country are responsible for all of it. Think about this. Of all the things that have happened between Afghanistan withdrawal and shutting down the pipelines, I mean, all the basic policy stuff, but things like gender studies and taking sex organs off of children and boys playing girl sports and all that stuff. If we had a press corps that used to be like the old-fashioned press corps, they wouldn't have stood for this.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
A family-owned business that decided years ago that being the biggest was not the most important thing. What is the most important thing? Core values. Just being able to service your clients in the way that when you're done and you leave their house, they go, you know what? I'm glad I worked with those guys. They did exactly what they said they were going to do. They got out here quickly. They got our AC fixed. Central Heating and Air Conditioning, better service through knowledge. Chuck and his team can take care of you like they take care of so many families in Atlanta, Georgia. Family-owned company for 70-plus years. It's that simple. That's why Central Heating and Air Conditioning, they don't have to make a bunch of promises. They make the promise that matters, to do the work that they say they'll do. They'll be there, and their word is good. They'll get the job done. They've been serving the community. They'll serve you. It's that way since 1947. Our AC went down. They got out so quick, got it fixed, and we're back up and running. Now we just have a fight in the house because my wife likes it really, really cold, and I like it to be more comfortable. My son likes it really, really cold. I like to be more comfortable. My in-laws were over the other night, and my mother-in-law was like, why is it so cold in here? I said, here. That's a great question. And then we went the round robin there again, arguing over the temperature in the house, but it's a good argument to have because that means the AC is working. Get your AC up and working too. If it's not, get a maintenance agreement today to make sure it lasts as long as you can, or it can, the machinery that you have, or get it replaced. You can do it all with Central Heating and Air Conditioning. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
The summer's got you thinking about hitting the road, and with back to school right around the corner, you need a vehicle built for the road and safe enough for the family. And Subaru of Gwinnett on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth has it for you. Like the 2024 Subaru Outback, which will take you as far as you want to explore with symmetrical all-wheel drive, plus up to 32 miles per gallon. And if you're up for adventure, it'll get you off the beaten path with up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance, more than Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4, or the Subaru Forester, the SUV for all the adventures ahead, with a spacious and comfortable interior for everyone you want to bring along. And no matter where the adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com or come visit us today on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth. We're Subaru of Gwinnett.
At Nelson Elder Care Law, we understand that family's everything. That's why we prioritize your family's future with personalized asset protection solutions. Call us today to schedule your legacy planning meeting and discover how our team can tailor our services to meet your family's unique needs, ensuring a secure and worry-free future. NelsonElderCareLaw.com.
Marketing is everywhere. From the billboards on the highways to the notifications on your phone, we are constantly bombarded with people trying to sell us stuff. What makes good marketing? Are you doing enough in your life personally and professionally to market yourself? You have questions, and the Marketing Madmen have answers. Tune in every Saturday, now at 4 p.m., right here on Extra 106.3 to get practical marketing advice from expert guests who are shaping and reshaping the business world. They say marketing is a madman's game. Join the Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. to find out why.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
Looking for bold discussions on vital issues? Tune in to The Janelle King Show every Saturday at 3 p.m. with an encore episode every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3, where we dive into kitchen table topics that are essential for a strong republic. Don't miss an episode, but if you do, it's all good because we have new podcasts that drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out on these thought-provoking conversations.
Well, Michael, I want to thank you for your time, but unfortunately, we can't offer you the position.
Why?
Well, we got the results of your background check, and quite frankly, we were concerned.
About what?
Apparently, you were arrested for throwing a shopping cart at a customer?
In my defense, he had it coming.
At Horizon Background Screening, we find things that other companies don't. That's why companies that use us make smarter hiring decisions. Don't let the wrong hire put your company at risk. Get the real story on your candidates at horizonscreening.com.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPSETC.com.
I wake up every morning with the Morning Xtra.
And I hope you're listening on the Extra 106.3 app. That is the best way to listen to this station throughout the day, starting with the Morning Xtra, Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10, then Beck, then Clay and Buck, and the local afternoon show with the Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder. A historic weekend and just craziness, chaos across the landscape of politics. The Republicans saying, I told you so. The Democrats scrambling to shore up some sort of support for their nominee, who right now is Kamala Harris. She's gotten 178 different endorsements, including the Obamas and the Clintons and Gavin Newsom and whomever else. But if she is unable to get any support, if she gets no traction, and it's absolutely possible. When she ran for president the first time, she got zero traction. If that happens again, they will pivot away from her just as fast as they did Joe Biden.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, you haven't heard Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, or Hakeem Jeffries. Those are three of the top Democrats right now that you'd look for an endorsement. They haven't endorsed her yet. I do expect that they would, because this is a system. This isn't a candidate anymore. This is a system that is trying to install their candidate, and they are going to try to force this down the Democrats' throat. If I was a Democrat right now, I'd be really upset about the fact that my vote didn't count in the primary, and I would kind of make a stink about that, but they're not going to allow that. They're going to, right now, a letter has already been drafted, sent to the captains, and which will be shared with every delegate that gets a chance to vote in the DNC, and they're telling them, hey, Kamala Harris, follow this path.
I want to point it out in this regard. All we've seen them do is change the face of the warmonger party.
Yep.
That's all.
It's just a different mask.
It's just a different mask that is going to be used. It's still the same policy. It's still the same warmongering. It's still the same sort of policies that are going to lead us into a really poor place, more towards globalism than when we talk about the individual liberty that is a representative republic. That is all that has happened here. And so while we might be looking over at Kamala Harris saying, hey, look, new day, and look what's going on, and just the big picture. The donations are up because you had Joe Biden was told they're not giving you any more money. Mm-hmm. You have to get out.
That was what the straw that broke the camel's back.
And that was what broke the camel's back. And what happened? As soon as it was Kamala, hey, the money opened up.
$55 million already?
Because they had to change the mask of the warmonger party.
Alex Soros already sending money in. I mean, it was that quick that he's like, hey, we're going to go ahead and take care of this, and we're going to send money in, and you should expect it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But think about who the Democrats are leaning on. Let's go back and listen to Kamala Harris just a little bit.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been.
How many times does she use the same line over? I mean, it's like Mrs. Lippy from freaking Billy Madison. Mm-hmm. It goes nowhere. She has no substance. There's nothing that she says that makes you go, oh my God, man, this is a really smart woman, or wow, that's a really wise thing to say. at this really important moment in time. No, it's we're unburdened by time or whatever the hell.
I'm still not even understanding.
Is she still going?
Yeah, she's still going.
That's still
Oh my God!
going, yes.
We got like 9 minutes of this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the same woman who sat there and said, Ukraine is a country, and it's next to a bigger country called
she did.
Russia.
Yeah, she did.
This is the same woman who sat there and said, my name is Kamala Harris. I am a she, her pronouns, and I'm wearing a blue suit today. This is the chosen
he's not
next,
lying to you.
Yeah, this is the chosen next leader for the United States.
Well, I thought it was pretty interesting and enlightening when Jen Psaki from MSNBC, formerly was running all communications with the White House, when she brought up over the weekend that part of what they're looking to do is create a view of strength behind Kamala Harris, that they're going to use a convention to make it look like she's challenged, yet she'll come out on top and it'll be a stronger person because of it. They're already trying to create the scenario in which we have to ignore what's happened for the better part of 4 years with this woman and now look at her as like, whoa, she was just waiting her turn to show how talented she is.
That's right. Now look at her.
Unburdened by what time has been.
Now look at her.
But
Boy,
that's what
she
Jen
is.
Psaki said. That's the internal plan.
But does that... I mean, that plan makes no sense because I've heard her say the things that we just played. There's nothing she's going to say that's going to convince me. Granted, I'm not a Democrat voter, so maybe I'm more cynical. Maybe I'm tougher on her than Democrat voters will be. But anybody that has looked at her track record is going to go, this is a failure. And maybe that's what the Democrats want, ideally, right?
You don't care.
We got to get rid of her
They don't
somehow or
care.
other. We got to salvage the House and the Senate.
That's it.
How do we use her as the person that gets just smacked down because we don't want to waste anybody on our bench?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of, look, what do they say? Kill two birds with one stone. Let's make sure that we get rid of Kamala. Kamala wasn't loved while she was vice president, but now everything's changed, and this is their only option. So the thought process is Kamala Harris is better than the dictator, the guy on the other side who's going to tear down the entire country. That's going to be the way that they run this campaign. Now that Kamala Harris is elevated to this position of being the candidate for presidency of the United States, her speechwriters get better. So I would expect that they're bringing in the best. They weren't doing that while she was vice president. They just figured that would go. They have 5 House seats they think they can flip in order to take control of the House. And that's their main goal right now. I think they've already lost the Senate. Now the push is going to be to the House. And that's why you're seeing an AOC and everybody else kind of jump on board. And I think that's what they need to push for, because I don't think they can win with Kamala, to be honest.
And remember, the reason why this is so important, because remember, these are people that have had so many fail-safes that have been put in play since 2016 for Donald Trump, whether it's Russian collusion, Ukrainian phone call, 2 impeachments, shooter on the roof. There's quite a few that they've put in there. The next one are going to be, if they take control of the House, it's endless impeachments.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Over and over.
And that's what we've talked about it.
It'll stall everything.
If you think the worst is behind Donald Trump, you are completely wrong. The Democrats will be after him every day. I think his last presidency will be a cakewalk.
Oh, yeah.
In comparison to what is waiting on him if he's elected again.
Well, they already have their cases set up that they're going to go back to. They're still going to go back to try to win in D.C. and Florida. They're still going to go based on insurrection charges, which are going to fall apart. They have to at this point. But they will push their best to try to make that happen and continue down that path. They don't care about true democracy. They don't care about anything but power. That's why you're throwing Kamala Harris in there, knowing she's not a good enough candidate. But they will work very hard to spread information and spread lies and push her to the top. But I think she fails, and I think they know that.
A threat to democracy, that's what they've said. A threat to democracy over and over and over and over. And yet, they're willing to throw the guy that everybody voted for just out the door, just dismissing democracy altogether.
Well, that's where we get back to the point of, if you are incapable of running, then how are you running this government for the next 5
that's right.
months?
And that's the thing. Rhino and I talked about it, I think, on Friday. It was just like, if he were to drop out, how could they then say he's just fine to run the country for the next 5 months?
Because he's not.
He's not. Well, no, we know that.
And nor will Kamala Harris.
Yeah. Right. And nobody's, look, they're not going to push him out. I don't expect, does anybody expect that he's going to step down? Because I do not.
This is as far as they're going to go with this.
They're right. They got what they wanted.
They got what they need.
And now they move forward.
The name, by the way, to remember is in all of this, and history will not remember this person, Steve Ricchetti, the counselor to the president. And that is who wrote this letter. And so when you wonder, well, who's been running this thing? It is the deep state. It is the Steve Richettis of the world. It is the people that are around these politicians that have the real power. And the way they look at it is, all right, Team Biden, all right, he's too old. It's falling apart. Team Harris, but it's still the same people that are making the decisions.
It's different mask. That's all it is. That's different mask in front of this. But Barack Obama, too, though. Let's not forget about him.
Absolutely. It's all the power brokers within the Democrat Party.
And apparently, I was reading from Politico this weekend that Jill and President Obama's wife, good Lord, why can't I remember Michelle's name? Good Lord, just because she gets confused.
Call her Mike, too.
That's what somebody says. Yeah. Some people would say. Yeah. So, but that they have this dispute that they just can't get by. And they are at each other's throats, which makes this even more almost of a joy for the Obamas to push him out, because they've not liked Joe Biden since the beginning.
No, I mean, there were stories when he was vice president about the, headbutting between the two. Yeah. And that's why, look, Michelle Obama, what a great ticket that would be if she were to join Kamala. But again, like Carlos said earlier, there's no way the ego allows her to be VP. She is a much stronger candidate than...
That's right.
And with no experience.
Flip,
with no experience, Michelle Obama, in their mind, would be a way better candidate. Again, I don't think Michelle Obama's going to get involved in this. She'll stay behind the scenes. They got to let this go. They're going to try their best on women's rights, and that, obviously Donald Trump's a threat. So a woman vice president ticket is what they want to look for. Now they got to find the next player that they can install in there.
Well, they've got to get my wife fired up.
Yeah.
That's what they have to do. They have to get the suburban liberal who has looked at this, even yesterday when I told her, hey, Joe Biden's out. She's like, oh, what a mess. And she looked at it almost in the manner of, I don't want to take part in this. I don't want to back any of this stuff. And for the first time in probably years, she's been asking me questions about how does this work? What is going on? How is this playing out? And I told her 2 weeks ago, here's how this is going to play. This is where the Democrat establishment is trying to get rid of Joe. Here's what they ended up having to do. So by the time this all is played out, now they have to fire her back up. And Kamala, the problem ends up being, and we talk about it when it comes to a ticket, we can all pretend, and they're going to, that she's so talented, she's so smart. Within their circles, they know that she's an idiot. And so no one wants to be the person behind the idiot. It would almost be, if we go back 30 years, no one wanted to be a VP under Dan Quayle. They spent 4 years going, Dan Quayle's a moron.
Yeah, right. Why would you want that? Morning Xtra at Extra 1063.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, July 22nd. Joe Biden has withdrawn his re-election campaign and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic candidate for the 2024 presidential race. According to an AJC poll conducted by the University of Georgia's School of Public and International Affairs, former President Trump leads Kamala Harris by 5 percentage points in the state of Georgia. Trump holds a 51% to 46% lead, which is well outside the 3.1% margin of error. Day 3 of the CrowdStrike global outage has continued to plague travelers and cancel more flights. Hundreds of delayed flights and hours-long lines have affected travelers looking to depart Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport for the third consecutive day. Expect it today as well. Delta Airlines canceled 27 flights yesterday, has 155 delayed flights, and only 18 flights on time. CrowdStrike has issued a statement saying it deployed a fix and is working with all impacted customers to ensure systems are back up to deliver the service to the customers are counting on. And in sports, the Atlanta Braves lost 2 of 3 games in the weekend series with the St. Louis Cardinals after a 6-2 loss yesterday at Truist Park. Spencer Schwellenbach took the loss for the Braves after giving up 4 runs on 7 hits, including 3 solo home runs. The Braves will open a series with the Cincinnati Reds tonight at Truist Park. Reynaldo Lopez will be on the mound for the Braves. First pitch scheduled for 7:20. You can catch all the action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
One group of people are pissed that the coup happened against Joe Biden. How do they vote moving forward? Tell you who they are and the possibilities behind it next on the Morning Xtra. Tug Rhino with Los until 10.
Biden will not be on the ballot this November. So as the Democrats roll into an open convention, they have more questions than answers.
Does Kamala Harris, in fact, end up taking the top of the ticket? If she does, who ends up as her running mate? And if she does not, who else could be in the mix?
Count on the conservative voice of Atlanta to bring you the biggest names in politics as this wild election season changes by the day.
This is the ball game. This is for all the marbles. This is like
this for the country.
This is 8 years of turmoil.
This is Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Take a look around you. We had an assassination attempt. We had a current president who disappeared and now is off the ballot. And now a puppet regime has been installed overnight. Do you feel safe? Well, I hope you do. But if not, there's one place that you can go, and it's locally owned and operated True Prep, Marietta Cobb Parkway. It's your one-stop shop for emergency preparedness supplies. Whether it's freeze-dried food, water filtration, first aid kits, firearms, farm accessories, or ammo, they have everything at the lowest price around. And again, they have the true professionals there. So professional that they want you to learn more about it. And if you're new to prepping, well, that's the place to go. True Prep, Marietta Cobb Parkway. And they even have workshops for you. So, Intro to Emergency Preparedness. It's a great class if you're brand new. They have books there as well. They have heirloom seeds. They have everything you need to make sure that your family's safe. So, go check them out in Marietta on Cobb Parkway or online right now at trueprep.com. You can start signing up for the workshops right there on their websites. Check them all out. And even because they are locally owned and operated, they have events for the community right there in Marietta on Cobb Parkway. Go to trueprep.com. That's TRU prep.com and prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
Hey fans, summer is here and you know what that means. Exterior painting season. At Atlanta Painting Company, this summer, save 10% off of all exterior projects and get a free color consultation. We understand how valuable your home is, so protect your investment with our industry-leading warranty and unmatched customer service. Don't just take our word for it. We have over 900 Google reviews telling you why we're the painters you can trust. Ready to get started? Visit us online at atlantapaintingcompany.com to schedule your free home consultation. The Atlanta Painting Company, the painters you can trust.
You have enough to deal with after an accident. You don't want to spend a lot of that time messing around with insurance companies. Besides, what are you going to say to them? You really know the ins and outs? David Van Sant at Van Sant Law does. He used to work for the insurance companies. Their worst nightmare. He knows who to call, what to say, how to listen to them, and he has your best interest at heart. Van Sant Law, 855-GA-INJURY. VanSantLaw.com, 855-GA-INJURY.
Tax season can be stressful, but it's also a wake-up call. It's time to think beyond April and plan for your future. At Master Plan Retirement Consultants, we're not just advisors, we're your partners in building a secure retirement. At Master Plan Retirement Consultants, we understand the challenges Georgians face. That's why we offer personalized strategies to maximize your retirement income, minimize taxes, and ensure you never outlive your assets. Join the Master Plan family and let us guide you through every financial milestone. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your appointment today. Master Plan Retirement Consultants, where your journey and destination are both important. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Bronies, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911. Online at stopmyed.com.
Diamonds Direct Atlanta is now open. The nation's fastest growing jewelry store now is a location right here in Buckhead. Shopping for the perfect ring to pop the question? Or maybe an everyday diamond tennis bracelet? The experts at Diamonds Direct are sure to have exactly what you're looking for, no matter the occasion. With the lowest direct importer pricing, you can expect the best selection of certified diamonds at unmatched prices, all within a luxury showroom atmosphere that makes you feel right at home. Come see what other jewelers are trying to replicate. Diamonds Direct's unbeatable after-the-sale guarantees and warranties are the best you can find. Free cleanings, sizing, polishing, accent diamond replacement for the lifetime of your purchase. If that's not enough, they also offer a 110% upgrade policy for you to use as often as you'd like on your diamond engagement ring, pendant, or studs. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, come see how Diamonds Direct is reinvigorating the jewelry industry at their brand new Buckhead showroom. When you want to have complete confidence in your jewelry buying experience, shop with the experts at Diamonds Direct. Now open on the corner of Maple Drive Northeast and Peachtree.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station is always streaming live across Georgia on the Xtra 106.3 app. Get the live stream and your favorite Xtra podcast anywhere you go. Grab the Xtra 106.3 app now for Apple or Android.
Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3 on a historic Monday following something that hasn't happened the way it happened ever. I mean, the last time we had a president step down was late 60s? Mm-hmm. Goodness gracious. This is unprecedented times. We were talking about this during the break, and 2 weeks in a row, you have something pretty much unprecedented happen. You have President Trump shot at last weekend. That was the story for the week, and that still should be the story. There should be some discussion about that because the Secret Service director is going to testify in front of Congress and hopefully get some answers. Probably not, but hopefully get some answers about the lack of security, the lack of ability that the Secret Service has to protect the former president. Just a complete and utter failure, incompetence at every level of the Secret Service. And then, this weekend, yesterday, you get Joe Biden stepping down. But there's a group of people, Los, that are going to be the most mad about Joe Biden stepping down.
And I think about this is going to be a challenge. And there are quite a few. There are quite a few challenges that Kamala Harris is going to face. We have joked around about how, liberal white women are waiting for their download. Tell me what to think about this person. Mm-hmm. But there's another aspect that we are not bringing up. And that is you have, because of his time in office and in service, remember, 8 years as a VP, 4 years as a president, there are some hardcore Joe Biden people that feel that he has been done wrong. And many of them are Rust Belt states, Midwestern states. Mm-hmm. And you wonder, wait a minute, California liberal woman who obviously has a questionable past when it came to how she came into power. We'll just put it that way. But you talk about a scenario where some of these people are Joe until it's time to go. Okay, like they are Joe Biden sycophants. And I think that is the area that they're having to look at when it comes to the Democrat Party and saying, how do we try and get these people back on board who feel like we did Joe wrong? Because they have done Joe wrong.
Dude, I feel like they did Joe wrong. I don't even like Joe Biden. Yeah. I feel like they did him wrong, Rhino.
I absolutely do too, because 1 minute you're telling me that no matter what and how feeble he looks, what he's done, the policies, the legislation that he's produced, the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Act and all the lies that this is helping the country, you've ran on the fact that he's been able to do that despite his mental ability. And now you're telling me that he's not mentally stable to run for president, yet he's still installed. So it's going to open up a lot of questions. And I think a lot of people are right to say, hey, hold on. We got everything we wanted Joe to do out of Joe. Why abandon him? Why not let him actually finish this term without any kind of controversy and run for the presidency? But now they got to go and figure out what they're going to do. I'll tell you, a running mate for them could be, and that is somebody who's kind of from the Midwest area, and that's Pete Buttigieg. And the reason why is, hey, here's another guy that I don't think translates real well, and they don't really like. He did a horrible job as transportation secretary, although his name's out there, and that's really, besides Cho, the only person you've ever known as that position. And he brings in another whole group that you've pandered to for so long with the LGBTQIA community. So maybe they get rid of those two at the same time and kind of push them away. But he's also a Midwest kind of guy.
Yeah, but that's 0.5%. You're losing 13% of the black community once you decide to go, here, we're going to run a gay man, this is what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, I agree.
They're very well aware of how that's going to play. I just think about that. We call it the pretzel moment, where the logic turns in on itself.
Yeah.
And think about the idea that they told you for 4 years that Joe was totally fine. And that Midwestern voter looked at it and it's like, Joe's our guy. And suddenly now you tell me he's not okay?
Right.
Snatch the rug out from under.
But let's be realistic. Joe has not been okay. Joe needs to be at a quiet place with no stress, blanket over the knees, and chilling out at his house in Delaware for the remainder. That's realistically what it should be. The problem is that you've had so many people that have pumped him up into being this outstanding figure that they can't imagine why you would pull the rug out from under him for Kamala Harris.
Well, but at the same time, anybody with eyes and ears already knew that Joe Biden was not in any shape to run or run the country. Currently, but until 2 weeks ago, and until the debate, even after the debate, the response was, well, Trump was lying and Joe is so talented.
Yeah, they were still screaming about how it was just a bad night. Joe was telling you, I just had a bad night. That was what the logic was supposed to be. And so now they're having to come to the realization that the party has actually been after Joe for the better part of a month internally.
And but it's probably longer than a month, though. It's probably a year, at least a year.
Yeah, and I don't think it even matters that they knew. It's the disrespect for Joe Biden as president that's going to really upset them.
I think that's right.
And not giving him the ability to. It could have happened 6 months ago. They could have said, hey, Joe is going to finish out his term and we love him and this, that, and the other, but Joe can make that decision on his own instead of being forced out the way that it's looked that he's been forced out. They should have said, hey, listen, Joe wants to finish his term and pass the torch on and done it in a nice way. I think a lot of the voters are saying, why don't you do it in a respectful way instead of giving the Republicans ammo like this and make it look like he wasn't. And I think a lot of people are upset that they didn't give him the right to kind of quietly go out. Now it's a mess, and I think they're really offended by that.
But Joe didn't want to do this.
Joe didn't have an interest in this.
That's the reason it didn't happen that way.
They all know that Joe didn't really have much of a decision in this, except for the fact that he held the cards and he should be able to have that decision. They took that decision away from him, and they realize that now.
Well, from a legal perspective, yes, Joe was holding all the cards. But in politics, this really comes down, and this is what's gross about it, it comes down to dollars.
Yep.
And the donors basically said, there's no more dollars coming, Joe. Not enough in order for you to be able to run this campaign or to take on Donald Trump. Imagine how embarrassing it would have been to basically be running this skeleton campaign against this monster that is Donald Trump, who's just rolling through and getting completely destroyed. Like, epically 1984 type of destroyed. Like, that was what everything was looking like. At least now the Democrats can say, all right, let's put a different face on this and maybe we can get a little bit of traction.
Interesting you're talking about money, because Politico's reporting that the $90 million that Joe has in the bank is already being used this morning by Kamala Harris.
Who has access to it.
Who has access to it. Remember, there was the discussion of, well, she can't have the... I was like, get out. They will find a way to get that money to her. Of course. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it goes to her, her actual bank account. Send it to the people who are supporting her. They can do that easily and legally.
But campaign finance laws basically have it where it's tied up into Biden-Harris.
Correct.
If either one of them, this was never going to be, this money's going to go to Gavin Newsom and watch what he's able to do. The laws are there so that when you donate to this ticket, the ticket has access and they're not able to move that money around. So she has every right to that money.
Yes,
of course, but there's going to be lawsuits around that. They're already saying that Republicans are going to try to sue to prevent her from using it, which I can't imagine why Republicans want to do that. It seems like such a waste of time.
Yeah, let it be.
Yeah, just unless they're just doing it to spite her or to spite the Democrats, and I don't think that's a good angle to take. But if that's what they're doing, then that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and look, she's not going to have any problem getting money. And I find it funny that George Clooney might be the one that looks like he took down President Biden by kind of talking about, hey, the $30 million and bringing it back. And celebrities in Hollywood are the ones who really shot down President Biden at this point. Even though we know behind the scenes, it was the big money donors. It was the ones that really are controlling who they want and what pick they should have in there. But it is kind of funny that Hollywood and some of those big donors are going to be the ones that are kind of blamed for taking Joe down.
I don't know, blamed or celebrated. Depends on who you're looking at. Depends on who you're talking about, because at least half the party wanted him out. So,
I think so too. Yeah.
So some people will be blaming them. Other people will be celebrating the fact they're able to get it done. Morning Extra on Extra 106.3 when we continue. Vivek Ramaswamy told you what was coming a year ago and even nailed the timing too. Smart guy we got there. In old Vivek. Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. Hope you're listening on the Extra 106.3 app or streaming us on the Extra 106.3 YouTube channel. If you are, we're waving at you this morning. And hope your Monday is off to a good start, man. We're only a couple weeks from kids being back in school. I know a lot of kids in Metro Atlanta start August 1st. Where has the summer gone? We're going to be at Election Day before you know it. This is Extra 106.3.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's the camera. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
The whole thing about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, the one core central part of that is nobody is to be considered an individual. Everybody is to be considered and regarded only in terms of their group identity. Mm-hmm. And that has been the mantra for Democrats for ages. Group identity, that counts. Mm-hmm. Individual identity does not. Yeah. And that is the essence of the Democrat philosophy and Democrat politics. It's time for it to die, and I think in large measure this is going to help kill it off.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
It's the unsung hero of your home, your garage door. You never think about it. You just hit the button and it opens until it doesn't. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage and Entry Doors. So you're ready for a new garage door. At All Four Seasons, we offer fast service, affordable prices, and a huge selection of styles, colors, and custom features. Improve your curb appeal, lower your energy bill, secure your home, and increase your property value. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 Seasons Garages.com.
Hey, it's Tug from my friends, the Frost family of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about their family's company all the time here on Extra 106.3. First Liberty has helped hundreds of small businesses grow by saying yes when the big banks say no. On Wall Street, opportunities to earn big returns are everywhere. But for Main Street investors, those opportunities are hard to find. Until now. Our First Liberty notes are now open to qualified Main Street investors, paying interest rates of 8 to 13% while helping fuel the growth of small businesses right here in Georgia. With a few basic qualifications and with as little as $25,000, qualified Main Street investors just like you can earn an 8 to 13% interest rate. If this is you, they'd love to hear from you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and consider joining the First Liberty family today. That's FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
No one plans on going to jail, but at A Second Chance Bail Bonds, we believe everyone deserves a second chance. That's the driving force behind everything we do. If you or a loved one has been arrested across town or across the country, you need help now. A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast with bondsmen throughout Atlanta to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT. That's 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
At the Piedmont Bank, we're proud to be one of Georgia's largest community banks, focusing on serving businesses and the communities they serve. With headquarters right here in Metro Atlanta, our tailored banking expertise and solutions help meet the diverse needs of our customers so they have what it takes to grow, expand, and thrive. It's what elevates us above the rest. Find a location near you at Piedmont.bank and experience elevated banking for you and your business. The Piedmont Bank. Banking elevated. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Hey Atlanta, it's Ben, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Peach State Pride. Each and every weekend, we bring you all the issues going on around the globe and what America's ultimate role is in order to drive our agenda forward as conservatives. And if you ever miss an episode, you can download everything I've ever done on Apple, Spotify, or you can go to the podcast park. See you around, Atlanta.
WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
She's already raised about $50 million. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, as Vice President Harris now runs for president, hours after President Biden dropped out of the race amid questions about his mental fitness and endorsed Harris to replace him.
Now Harris will have to earn the nomination formally at the convention. She needs 1,986 delegates. As of about 10 o'clock last night, 531 had already endorsed her.
And Fox's Jackie Heinrich reports from Delaware the vice president will be center stage today.
We're going to see Harris on the South Lawn today, standing in for Biden at an NCAA event on the South Lawn of the White House that was pre-planned because Biden is still recovering from COVID here at his beach house.
Former President Trump just posted on Truth Social that Democrats stole the race from President Biden after he won it in the primaries, writing, "These people are the real threat to democracy," which, of course, Democrats say about him. House Speaker Mike Johnson says if President Biden can't run, he can't serve and should resign. In a Trump interview that'll air on Jesse Waters' show tonight on Fox News Channel, the former president called for an investigation.
You had people that lied to the American public. And I tell you what, you ought to take a look at his doctors, because his doctors keep giving him this wonderful report. I'm not a doctor, but I saw him the other day, was unable to get up the children's stairs going into Air Force One.
9 days after the Trump assassination attempt, the Secret Service director will face tough questions at a House hearing this morning about security lapses that allowed the 20-year-old gunman to fire the shots. Republican Mike Turner chairs the House Intelligence Committee and tells CBS Face the Nation Kimberly Cheadle should resign.
He walked in with a ladder. He had a rangefinder. He had a weapon. He got onto a roof that was within short distance. All of these failures are obvious failures.
We've just learned 2 more Israeli hostages have died in captivity in Gaza after being kidnapped in the Hamas terror attack last year that triggered the war. Of the 120 hostages still in Gaza, 46 are dead. Today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu comes to America. Wednesday, he'll address Congress. America's listening to...
Well, summer's here and the weather is beautiful. Everyone has a favorite outdoor activity: golf, bike riding, bird watching, long walks. Ask 100 people, you'll get 100 answers. But if everyday aches and pains are keeping you on the sidelines, I have one answer: Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. Wherever you're hurting, back, neck, joints, or muscles, in 3 weeks or less, you'll start to feel the difference all day, every day. So whatever you like to do, swimming, pickleball, hanging out in the garden, Relief Factor can help you feel good again and let you enjoy all your favorite outdoor activities all summer long. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
Coffee, keys, and extra 106.3. That's how I get to work and home.
Glad that you're here. 404-741-1230. Love your reaction to Joe Biden dropping out of the race yesterday and immediately endorsing Kamala Harris. President Biden not seeking re-election. That's the first time a sitting president has dropped out since Lyndon Johnson. Here's his statement on March 31st, 1968. Joe's looking for it. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. But anyway, that's all right. There's no worries. We'll get it to you in just a moment.
He's now giving you the thumb.
Oh, we're good? All right, go ahead.
I shall not seek, and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president.
There you go. That's what it sounded like in 68. You know what it sounded like yesterday? That right there. Nothing. It didn't sound like anything. It was just a letter to all of us. Quiet little letter, not on official letterhead.
Dear John.
It's what it sounded like. It's what it looked like. And they say we'll hear from the president later in the week when he feels better. But this, just the way this all happened, this coup, this insurrection, if you will, the way all of this happened, is leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
I mean, imagine having to write a letter that says, in 3.5 years. You couldn't even finish the fourth year. I mean, to start off the letter that way, it's a shame in reality that they ever allowed this man to continue to run for president in 2020. That was already the problem there. But then to treat him this way, and you said it before, like, I mean, we may not agree with him.
Yeah.
But you do feel sorry for the way they put him
on
through
a
all of
human
this.
level.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him on a human level.
Absolutely, 100%, and we all should.
Well, we've been 100% talking about that. We talked about what's going to happen to this man, that the likelihood of him being able to serve out another 4 years was going to be minimal based on just the health that he was at, and that there's entirely a possibility that he would die in office. And we talked about how that would be a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, talking about a very few amount of people that have ever been president of this country. And so whenever you lose one, that is something that you should be upset about. So that has never been something that we have ever disparaged. We've disparaged the job. We disparage how you handle yourself. We disparage, obviously, the mental capacity. But we've never looked at the man and wished ill upon him.
You hear from the left, which I'm glad that we handle ourselves that way. I got a text yesterday from a friend who just sees things very differently politically. And it was an article, a screen.
Peg?
No, this time it wasn't at Peg. No.
Helen.
No.
Was it Peeps?
It was not. No, I don't, to be honest, I don't know where Aunt Peeps stands politically. She never talks about it. I think she's probably.
Loves the price of eggs right now.
She does.
Yeah.
Yes, she does, because she's selling those like hotcakes.
She's driving that Mercedes.
Yeah, that's right. Come on, she did just get a new car.
Selling eggs on the Mercedes.
Yeah, delivering her Mercedes Sprinter.
That's right. She got her a new car. I think it was a Honda. But is doing quite well with her little makeshift farm that she has there in Cumming. And this text merely said Trump breaks age record for presidential candidacy. And then, I think it's from NBC or whatever. And it said, hey, do you need me to cut y'all's promo? Will Republicans keep talking about age, mental acuity, the Biden crime family, and went on and on and on. And I thought to myself, that's interesting you'd say that, because I was like, make sure you add in there, Biden is fine and it's all a cheap fake. Crickets. Nothing.
Crickets.
Nothing.
But that's the funny thing is what Trump is running on is actually things that Americans care about. Now, whether the message gets out to the left, probably not, because the media is not going to allow that to get out. But what is he running on? The fact that he's going to bring back energy to the country by drilling. What he's going to do is work on the economy day one. He's going to make sure that we're cutting taxes for all Americans, all 100% of Americans, not for half of us. So and of course, we're talking about the border, which we know that the American people are overwhelmingly in support of a policy and shutting down the border and making sure their families are safe. They are not going to allow that message to get out in the mainstream media that Trump's putting out there. They're going to distract with that because it works just like that.
I love making this very clear, especially when it comes to any of my liberal friends. I was like, do you realize how easy it is to actually create American prosperity? Like, it really is. Mm-hmm. We've seen this over the better part of 40 years. Very simply, cut taxes. All right? When you cut taxes and you reduce regulation, American prosperity takes off. And when I say how easy it is to do, I then ask the question, so why doesn't your side do it? And it all comes back to, obviously, dependence on government, growing the size of government. Donald Trump, I always start off with, let's all agree. I'll be like, hey, is Donald Trump a buffoon? Yeah, he's a buffoon. All right, cool. How easy will it be to bring back American prosperity? It's not that difficult, but he'll do it.
It's funny you bring that up because my son asked me, he was like, Dad, what's the difference? Like, now that Joe Biden has stepped down, what's the difference? And I was like, nothing. There's no difference. And this is what we talked about earlier with the mask. It's the same policies just put forward by someone else.
Same warmongers.
And I told him, I was like, kind of along the lines of what you're saying when you talk to liberal friends, I was like, fiscal policy doesn't change, or fiscal the way to move forward to be successful with fiscal policy doesn't change. If you do it the same way, it's always successful. The Democrats rarely ever do it that way, and that's why anytime there's a Democrat in office, fiscal policy and our economy suffers.
We have never been able at any point to spend our way into prosperity. Taxing and spending
or out of debt
does not seem to do it. Now, Donald Trump, if there's something that he ends up being the icon for, it ends up being that we can be a prosperous country without being at war. Mm-hmm. And that's something different that we've had since the World War II days. And maybe we'll get into it a little bit later this week about how dangerous it was, the stuff that he was bringing up. But we've had this entire society, this entire capitalistic society that has almost become dependent on war to grow our economy on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Donald Trump showed you for 4 years you don't have to do that, and that's a threat to a lot of people's power.
Well, the threat, there, and energy. Energy is a big threat. Controlling energy is very important in today's world, and Donald Trump knows that, and he knows the prosperity that Americans can have if we actually sell energy, actually control energy, and it also makes us the most powerful country in the world. And the fact that we don't need war is a huge threat to the people who line their pockets because of the military-industrial complex. So, that's what we've seen fighting. That's why you see Ukraine continuing to get money and funneling it back to continue to buy weapons from us with our own money. It's a game that the Democrats have played, and Republicans, establishment Republicans, have played the same exact game. So the ones that will sit there and say, I don't think we should send Ukraine money, and then vote for it, that should be a very, very big warning sign for everyone.
So irritating. I know our group chat, Flounder sent us a great meme, and it was Joe Biden's cell phone, missed call President Zelensky 52 times. Text, money's still coming, right? Text, I'm scared. Text, please answer, just right in a row after the announcement, because that's exactly right. Just piggyback on what both of you are saying is that these people have been wasting money in great fashion with no punishment whatsoever.
If you want to get down to just the difference in, now I say candidates, it's a candidate versus an entire establishment of the Democrat Party. If you want to talk about the difference in the two, one of them, and Donald Trump wants to end the money and end the war in Ukraine immediately and take the peace deal that has been out there for the better part of 2 years. The other side goes, let's keep throwing money at this endless war.
Because
it's going to enrich us. It enriches a lot of us.
It's going to come back to us every time. Joe Biden's out. Vivek Ramaswamy told you the truth about it.
I also want to close with one message to the Democrat Party. End this farce that Joe Biden is going to be your nominee. We know he's not even the president of the United States. He's a puppet for the managerial class. So have the guts to step up and be honest about who you're actually going to put up so we can have an honest debate. Biden should step aside, end his candidacy now so we can see whether it's Newsom or Michelle Obama or whoever else.
All right,
just tell us the truth so we can have an honest debate.
I mean, that's a year ago.
Yeah.
Just
18 months he's been talking about this.
It's no surprise that a guy like Vivek is so dialed in, and I think that's why so many people are fascinated by him, because he is incredibly smart and yet carries the same values, the same principles that Donald Trump carries. I mean, they're very similar. Vivek's a little more surgical with his delivery than Trump, and I think that's why people are drawn to him, because he comes off as incredibly intelligent. And I think people are, anytime you got somebody that's really smart in front of the room, most people will fall in line.
Well, it's easy now. It's easy to say that now. That man was saying that a year and a half ago when debate moderators are like, you can't say that. So we're moving on. How dare you question the mental capacity of the United States president?
No, that's right. But I think anybody with a fair mind was doing the same thing. Even then, we talked about it on this show.
We've been doing this for 4 years.
But we were on the outside.
We're outside, right?
Yeah, we were the ones that were saying this. And again, y'all are conspiracy theorists.
We're the crazy ones.
Y'all are slinging all this information. It's misinformation. No, brother, we've been telling you it's straight. No chaser for about 3-4 years telling you what is going on with your U.S. president mentally.
Yeah.
And now you're just now getting around to, some people have been right on board with us. Now it's become popular to suddenly say, yeah, he's diminished.
Yeah. And I really would continue to push. If I'm Donald Trump right now, I would continue to push that they've known this for so long that they actually kept RFK Jr. out of this race. The Democrats didn't even allow the opportunity for RFK
does that
Jr.
look now?
It's stupid, and it looks stupid. This is where I would hit on them every time. You want to talk about a threat to democracy? They kept RFK Jr. off the ballot because they knew he'd take votes away from Biden, even though they knew deep down inside Biden was not mentally there and able to run the presidency or able to run the United States.
Well, think about it, how they were in a scenario where the cabal was all centered around Joe Biden, and everything was that was the centerpiece. Okay, think about it in terms of it was a car, but it was the hood ornament. Okay, it wasn't the car. It was just what you saw first.
It was the mask.
All right, so the problem ends up being is that when Robert Kennedy rolls along and was getting up to 18 to 20% of the vote, that was a threat to the cabal. Looking back on it, wouldn't it have been so much more? Couldn't you have pushed a younger, more spry, stronger Kennedy?
And a guy that's right in line with your politics,
most of your policies anyway?
There's very slight difference in them, but not much.
What a butchering of this entire scenario.
Well,
I'm so happy I'm here.
They were probably afraid he wouldn't take the money.
Maybe, could be. Maybe there's some of that because his family doesn't need it. But I think the thing that's most irritating to me, if I were a Democrat, I have been led around by my nose for 3 years that Joe Biden is just fine. I've been told that I shouldn't believe my eyes and ears, and they would have kept going with this farce had the debate not happened. Had the fallout not happened, let's say the debate never took place because they did the basement Biden strategy. We would still be sitting here today talking about Joe Biden running for president.
I ask you guys this, and it's outside of our nature, okay, because we're just not wired this way. We tend to question everything. I tend to, if you tell me the sky is blue, I go, is it? Well, let me check for myself. Okay, like that's how mentally it is. Don't you find it interesting that after this many years of being told, here's where Joe is, that you start wondering, well, what are some of the things that maybe I've bought into on my own?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Where I've thought to myself, like, okay, what have I been brought along with my nose on? Because if that can happen to regular run-of-the-mill Democrats where they know that this isn't true. Like, I wonder to myself, what have I bought into that I know is possibly not true?
Dude, I tell people all the time, if you're reading from websites, if you're reading from a mainstream news website or watching a mainstream news program, you are being misled. And that stuff filters. It's 96% of the media comes from that point of view, so it filters everywhere it goes. And you could be reading I don't know, MSN website, that people use as their homepage.
Yep.
And that information still filters to you, man. It permeates.
Google News.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, probably the algorithm right there.
That's probably a better example than even the MSNBC
it is
or
set
MSN
up
homepage.
to basically feed you whatever that the particular algorithms want to feed you.
Here's another thing. Think about little bitty stations in small markets around the country.
Sure.
They use they've got a news feed like a Fox for us, and then they probably have some sort of regional news programming that comes in. In Georgia, there is a GNN. We don't partner with them, but they're there. And all of that filters to, and it's all from one point of view, all of that filters to little bitty towns across America with leftist ideas and at least leftist influenced news, even if it's a conservative radio station.
Yeah, I mean, we went from a world of almost trusting the news for a long time throughout our lives. Our parents, everybody else, were always trusting the news because it seemed like, hey, this is the only source. You have to listen to that. And now you have other sources. People are able to go out and kind of do their own fact checking. And that's the good part about it. But the other part is some people will never do that. They'll just take what's filtered to them and run with that every single day. That's going to be a huge problem going on, and that's what both parties are going to use it to their advantage. You know, Donald Trump and the Republicans will always use Fox News to their advantage to push out whatever agenda they want to push out there as well. So will the Democrats. The only difference is the Democrats have over 90% of the media coverage.
It's interesting, though, how Fox News has turned into so pro-Trump. In the once in a while that I check in, they've turned from, remember, because they were so anti-Trump for a little while that people were pissed. Like conservatives who really watch Fox News a lot were pissed about it. And now it seems like they're the Trump machine. They're the exact on the right as, the mainstream media is on the left.
Now, this is going to end up being the greatest political turnaround in the history of politics. And we'll bring it up from this perspective because we were all giggling over this yesterday. The way the St. Louis Cardinals were celebrating, the way the Tampa Bay Rays were celebrating, they were all making references to Trump's fight after he was shot, and all making references to, I got shot in the ear, yet I'm here still to fight. They have now gotten to the point where pop culture has made Trump popular again. Like, think about the turnaround in 3.5 years.
And you get Mark Zuckerberg out there saying, that was badass. I mean, that's a big problem for Democrats, and now they have to run this. Now, Democrats do have an advantage now, and they will use it to the best of their ability. I talked about abortion. They're going to go hard off abortion. And anything Donald Trump says, anything Ron DeSantis says, anything any Republican says now is sexist and racist towards the presidential nominee, Kamala Harris. They're going to do that again, and that's the game that they're going to play. They are going to pry on emotion. They're going to hope the emotion can bring that back. The problem is the emotion is still on the other side, and this movement that's been happening, Van Jones was right. And the more I heard him say, this is a lot like 2008. It's almost unstoppable. I haven't seen this kind of excitement around a candidate since that point. And yeah, it just happens to be on our side now, but it is a movement, and people are. And when you start seeing it translate, like Carlos told you, into sports, into mainstream,
into culture.
Yeah, you're going to have to really come across and fight that with another cultural event or an emotional event.
I thought that Byron Donalds was another example of something that we have talked about. We're giving so much free advice to these political parties. When he was on Bill Maher and he had the crazy leftist who was spouting off about abortion, and it was very simple. We're going to let our communities decide. Simple. It's like, we didn't make it illegal. It's up to your community, and that is that's all you have to say about it. That is a simple strategy,
and that's the right answer.
That's what kind of community you want to live in. Your community will vote on what your community standards will be when it comes to abortion.
Brian Tyson is an election lawyer and joins us next to talk about the process of pushing Biden out legally. Next on the Morning Extra, Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10.
Stream Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Glenn Beck, Fox News, and even NASCAR on Sundays. Anywhere on the Extra 106.3 app. Download the app now and get 24/7 access to the live stream, the latest news, and everything you need to know about Atlanta's only conservative talk station. Download the Extra 106.3 app for Apple or Android and check out even more great original content at thepodcastpark.com.
We've all heard it before. Buy one, get one Windows. 10% off if you call today. $500 off if you sign tonight. But are these really a special? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Hi, this is Candace with Exovations, and have I got a tip for you. Don't fall for it. It's exhausting trying to keep up with all the fake specials being offered. And we all say the same thing. We're all licensed, we're all insured, we all have 5-star reviews. At Exovations, we want to earn your business the right way. But don't take our word for it. Let us show you why we say we are different from other contractors. To find out what it means to have an on-time, on-budget, and stress-free renovation, call me today at 770-205-2995 or online at exovations.com. That's exovations.com.
The summer's got you thinking about hitting the road, and with back to school right around the corner, you need a vehicle built for the road and safe enough for the family. And Subaru of Gwinnett on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth has it for you. Like the 2024 Subaru Outback, which will take you as far as you want to explore with symmetrical all-wheel drive, plus up to 32 miles per gallon. And if you're up for adventure, it'll get you off the beaten path with up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance, more than Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4, or the Subaru Forester, the SUV for all the adventures ahead, with a spacious and comfortable interior for everyone you want to bring along. And no matter where the adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com or come visit us today on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth. We're Subaru of Gwinnett.
Neil Borch here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, cpapsetc.com.
Are you concerned about securing your family's future and assets? Look no further than Nelson Elder Care Law. As a family-owned and family-focused firm, we offer absolute assurance and peace of mind through our comprehensive asset protection services. Visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com to explore how we can safeguard your legacy and provide tailored solutions for your family's well-being.
The Braves are making back to school a little brighter this August with 10 days of amazing giveaways. Don't miss the Ronald Acuna Jr. 41 home runs bobblehead presented by Napa, the Outcast bobblehead, Ozzy Albies and his dog bobblehead presented by NextGuard, and many more. Come enjoy great Baseball and collect these must-have items. Visit Braves.com/promos to see all of August's A-plus giveaways and to get your tickets. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
Self-employed in 2021, you may be entitled to up to $32,220 in COVID tax relief. At smartsetc.com, our ex-IRS auditors leverage credentialed knowledge to help you understand your claim with no upfront costs. Don't miss out on this opportunity to maximize the claim you're entitled to. Take our short eligibility quiz at smartsetc.com now. That's smartsetc.com.
Tired of all the negative media manipulation? Wake up feeling right with the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station.
Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10 on the Morning Xtra. We're joined this morning by Brian Tyson of the electionlawyers.com. Accountability, integrity, and accuracy in elections. That's what they do for a living. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time with us this morning. What was your first thought from a legal point of view when you learned that Joe Biden was stepping down as of yesterday about 1:30 or so?
Yeah, well, good morning. My first thought legally was, number one, you got to figure out what to do with the campaign cash, and then what are you going to do with your delegates? That's kind of the two key questions. Because if your nominee ends up being the vice president, as we've heard, Joe Biden's endorsed her as the presidential candidate, he can't require his delegates to vote for the vice president, but he can strongly encourage them. They're generally loyal to him. And then she's also the only person who can take the money that's currently in the Biden-Harris campaign account that was quickly reformulated as the Harris for President account and use that. So that's about $91 million as of the last report. And so those are the two key things that they had to deal with right away, and we saw that come together pretty quickly yesterday afternoon.
Brian, we look at this, and, I talked about the delegates and then having to get to the super delegates, but I fully expect that the word is going to be passed down to all the captains and the delegates to talk and say, hey, this is overwhelmingly who we want. But there is no other option except for allowing the delegates to vote for who they want at the DNC convention. But is it really what we say, a threat to democracy to kind of force this down the Americans' throat?
It is a little bit ironic that the party that claims to be focused so much on democracy is using a very undemocratic process to make the selection of their nominee after shutting out anybody from participating in the primaries. But the reality is it's kind of how we used to pick presidents for a long time. Historically, before we had kind of voter-led primaries, a lot of these decisions were made in convention. So in a lot of ways, this is a throwback to almost the 1800s era in terms of how we chose presidential candidates. And it's up to the delegates, which has historically been kind of a figurehead role since the last, 50 or 60 years. Now becomes actually something that's going to make a difference. So,
Brian Tyson is our guest, the Election Lawyers Group. You can always check them out at theelectionlawyers.com. And I want to ask you about this, Brian, because part of the challenge for the Democrats now is that, and I've read about it in Wisconsin, read about it in Nevada, the amount of places where Joe Biden is still supposed to appear on the ballot, but his votes will not count. What kind of a challenge is that going to be for the Democrats to get that changed in order to have Kamala Harris or whoever end up being on the ballot?
I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem for them to get that resolved. I mean, as a technical matter, there is no nominee for the Democratic Party, even though President Biden was the presumed nominee. It's not until after the convention that happens. And although we as voters are voting for a presidential candidate on the ballot, technically we're voting for a group of presidential electors. And so those Democratic Party electors would still be able to vote for whomever they would want to vote for. And so I don't think it's going to be an issue for them to change out the president's name on the ballot, because ultimately, again, it's a group of electors you're voting for, not a particular candidate.
Here in Georgia, do you see any issues coming up in that same place? Just with the election, the way it's already set up. I mean, is there any deadlines that had to be met, or the same way that'll just be smoothed over? It won't be any issue, kind of like the campaign cash.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue in Georgia. We generally have to finalize our ballots about 60 days out from the election, and so we're a little bit over 100 days out from the election right now. So there still is time to get ballots changed out. And plus, the main thing, changing a name is relatively simple when you look at it. the key is you have to have that 60-day window to allow election officials to test all the election equipment and kind of go through all the pre-election processes. I think if the president had waited another 20, 30 days or up to the convention, that could have been an issue for people getting things replaced. But at this point, I think it's going to be doable, especially if the DNC moves forward with that virtual roll call they're talking about in a few weeks.
Brian Tyson joining us here from the election lawyers. When we hear some of the AGs and some of the other Republicans saying, hey, they're going to launch lawsuits about, either the ballots or also we know the money is going to be okay with Biden and Harris, but what laws are they looking at or lawsuits when it comes to the Constitution that they think they could kind of put a stop to some of this?
Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of real good hooks on that. I think if it was after the convention, we'd be looking at a very different scope of situation, because at that point, then you've got some issues with allowing voters to vote and kind of making the decisions on that point if somebody voluntarily withdraws. Under Georgia law, we have kind of a bunch of different rules that apply if a candidate dies versus if a candidate withdraws and kind of how those things work out. But again, I think we're still far enough out that there's not going to be a real hook there. I think the most interesting thing to watch is there is at least an argument that the Federal Election Commission is going to have to look closely at how that money goes from Biden-Harris to Harris for president and where that ends up. So, I mean, since President Biden is not yet the nominee of the party, there is at least a small argument that money can't be transferred. I don't think ultimately that'll be successful, but I think you may see some action around that. I think that's going to be the bigger target for folks than trying to play with the ballot and keeping Vice President Harris off the ballot.
Brian Tyson is our guest. And Brian, I'm going to put my Democrat hat on for just a moment and ask you, if I'm one of the 14 million primary voters that voted for Joe Biden and I'm feeling burned by this situation, do I have any legal recourse? Am I able to get in touch with my state attorney general? What does the common Democrat who feels like they are having democracy ripped away from them, do they have any recourse in this?
So, unfortunately, they really don't. The presidential preference primary process, which is a lot of P's that we go through, we're selecting the pieces of the puzzle here, are selecting delegates. And so, ultimately, yes, you can hold a primary, you can cast your vote in a primary, but it's up to the Democratic Party rules about how those delegates are selected. And we learned a lot about the Democratic structure of superdelegates. They moved away from that a little bit towards more of a voter-centric model. But since it's each political party choosing how they want to allocate their delegates, there really isn't a lot of recourse for voters. And I think that's going to be one of the interesting things to watch is, I think for Democrats, the biggest challenge is, are your voters going to still be motivated? You came out, you worked for Joe Biden, you were told he was in great shape, you were told he was doing, all these quadratic equations when the doors closed, he was just doing so sharp.
Just doing push-ups on the lawn and
algebra and things.
Yeah,
jumping jacks.
So now you're faced with a situation where you were lied to about that. And so are you going to stay home? Are you really going to be motivated to come out and vote for a vice president in November who was complicit in that and assured you that the president was fine? So I think that's the bigger enemy for Democrats at this point is, can they harness any voter enthusiasm after shutting people out of the primary process?
TheElectionLawyers.com is where you can find Brian Tyson. Let's throw a wrench into this whole Harris being the nominee. What if she's not? What if she doesn't pick up steam? What if the delegates turn on her? There could be a myriad of things that could happen that maybe she wouldn't be the nominee. What happens to the cash then?
Yeah, so at that point, you're at a situation where the Democratic Party cash can still be used. So there's some joint fundraising that's happened for the Democratic National Committee. That's still available. If you're in a situation where the vice president is not the nominee, then that $91 to $100 million that's sitting in the Biden-Harris account can't be touched by the nominee. And so that person has to go raise the funds. Now, one advantage they would have in that situation is that presidential campaign could give that money to a super PAC. It could give that money to the Democratic National Committee. There are some ways for the money to reach assisting the nominee if that's the situation. But it's going to be much harder, and the nominee, him or herself, wouldn't have direct control over it if it's not the vice president.
Brian, what should we look for at the DNC? We're going to go through the delegate vote first, and then if they don't get, or if Harris doesn't get 50% of the vote, we go to the super delegates. And if that doesn't come out, what's the next step for the Democrats in order to get their nominee in there?
Once we get to the convention, if they've gotten there and they're in that situation, it's a floor fight, and I think then you're open to just whomever can persuade the delegates they can get a majority ultimately, and that's, I think, going to expose a lot of the fissures in the Democratic Party. There's a lot of different factions there, And if they go to the convention without a nominee and are having a fight on the floor, it's probably going to be some great TV to watch, but it's going to be a really difficult process for them to unite around somebody. And it really will harken back to those political conventions in the early 1900s, late 1800s, where you'd have just multiple ballot after ballot till somebody would emerge as the nominee.
Brian, and I'm going to ask you to take your lawyer hat off for a moment. Can't you imagine if that does occur and suddenly we get the rise of a Hillary Clinton, there being a collective groan of, Hillary again? How did she do this again?
Yep. No, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, anything's on the table at that point. And if you're a Democrat and it's not the vice president, you're looking for somebody, you're going to want somebody with national experience. You're going to want somebody who's run a campaign before. And maybe also by that point, you're just kind of surrendered to the reality that someone's going to have to lose to Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton's already done that. So maybe we're just going to do that again and rerun that play. But it really will be fascinating to see who can build out the infrastructure. I mean, if you don't assume the Biden-Harris infrastructure that's already been built out in terms of staffing and all the other positions that are going on, I mean, you can't build a presidential campaign in a matter of days. It's a difficult, large operation, and somebody has to be able to mobilize voters, and that's what you'd be looking to do.
If you were advising Kamala Harris right now and the team around her, what would you be doing? How would you be dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that you got the most people, the most delegates, the most voters, the most friendly press coverage? What would you be doing to ensure that you are indeed the nominee? Is there a strategy there that you think would be really effective for her to do that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that you already see them running the plays that they need to. So immediately yesterday afternoon, you had the vice president on the phone with groups of delegates with state party chairs across the country, trying to just assemble the loyalty of the delegates. I think the next week is critical for the vice president to lock everybody up and not allow any other challengers to emerge. I think the additional phone calls and different endorsements that you see coming in, Governor Shapiro, others who are immediately endorsing the vice president, you want to lock up any potential people who would run against you, get them to endorse you, and then lock up the delegates as quickly as you can. Create just the real kind of tidal wave of support all the way across the board. So that way it shuts out any other competitors along the way. And it looks like what they're doing. They've already gotten pledges of delegates. I think the Tennessee delegation has already pledged all their delegates to the vice president. They're working in North Carolina as well. So they're doing exactly what they need to. Their only audience for the next week has to be delegates. And once that's all locked down, then they can pivot and start moving to the larger electorate. But they have to make sure they've got that sewn up first.
So the Democrat Party, final question here, the Democrat Party has said they're going to undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward.
Seems such far so far.
Exactly. I've never seen anybody in politics be very, very transparent. So, do you believe that? Do you think that's an actual thing? Or is this, people behind the scenes pulling the strings to get exactly what they want to see?
No, it's going to be a behind-the-scenes process. I mean, there will be a public process that people see, and there will be a private process that's going on to lock up. And one of the things we see about Democrats over time is they're very good about closing ranks. And so as you see that process move, there's all the behind-the-scenes delegate work that's going to happen. There will be a public process, quote-unquote, where there'll be at least an opportunity to place somebody else in nomination. But by the time you get to that point, the Harris team will already have the nomination sewn up with the delegates. And so while it may be an appearance of that, it's going to be a foregone conclusion if they do their work right.
What is the one thing that we're missing that we've not asked you about that you've thought about while you've watched this?
So the main thing I've been watching is what's going to happen with the existing leadership structure of the Biden campaign. If you're Vice President Harris, you don't want the president's people running your campaign. You want your people doing that. So what's going to happen to Jen O'Malley-Dillon? What's going to happen to people who hold senior positions in the campaign? And then, as we for the vice president putting those people in, she doesn't have a team that's experienced running a national election. She didn't make it through the primary process in 2016 or so she doesn't have that experience of what she would need to do to be able to build out a national team. So I'm most curious to watch how she's going to utilize existing Biden staff that do have the experience, even if it's not a great experience, with her team and getting her folks in there so they don't have just Biden people running her campaign.
Fascinating. Yeah. Everything that we're seeing is historic, and we appreciate your time this morning, Brian Tyson. TheElectionLawyers.com is where you can find Brian. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day, sir.
You too. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man. So fascinating, man.
Yeah.
Just all of this, and that's the thing that I never even considered. How does she transition to get people running her campaign that actually know what the heck they're doing?
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of her actually picking people. I think they'll pick them for her and continue down the same path that they did. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they call Ronald Klain and say, hey, look, I know that you left, but we need to bring you back behind the scenes for this. And that's what's going to continue to happen is they'll find the people to put this in play because they know how important this is.
Well, let's be very honest. It wasn't that Joe Biden was running a bad campaign. It's that he's a bad candidate.
Right.
Okay? It wasn't like he was going to places that he shouldn't be at. It wasn't like he wasn't speaking in front of the people that he should have been. It's just when you put him out there, you were getting gaffe after gaffe, and you wondered about whether or not he was going to be able to handle the rigors of the job. And so that's where I'm curious too. Brian Tyson bringing up a really good point. Do they just transfer over and say, listen, Joe was running what he's supposed to be. Now let's have you do it.
Yeah, because the mask, right? We go back to the whole thing. It's all about the policy.
Same game.
Nothing's going to change.
New
It's
mask.
just a different person standing at the top of the ticket.
Yeah, you just got to kind of change the message for a black female presidential candidate and run with that. Tailor it a little bit to that and use what you get out of the emotion of the white liberal women or women in general, because that's what they're going to go after at this point. And they have the candidate that they think will be able to deliver that message.
And please, if I was running this campaign for Kamala Harris, the very first thing that would be out of my mouth after the initial, okay, here's what we're doing, it would be, and please stop trying to pander as if you're somehow down for the struggle on a regular basis. When you saw her appearance on BET and she talked about being out in dem streets.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, the minute you do that, you come across as
be
the
like me
biggest
saying
phony.
It'd be like me saying it.
I say it as a joke.
No, I know.
like when I'm like, well, I've been out in dem streets.
No, exactly, but that's the point. You're saying it as a joke. Like it'd be like one of us trying to say that we grew up in some sort of
her goal
inner city.
Should be trying to make sure over the next 4 months is to try and ignore the fact that she's pretty phony.
Yeah.
Don't play into the fact that you're pretty phony.
But is she someone, because when you hear from her staff, when we kind of went around the whole speaking in circles, and a lot of them left because she went off script. Will she go off script, and will she be able to go off script, or can you rein that in and say, hey, this is the message, do not go anywhere else, do not try to relate in any other way, these words that we wrote for you are going to relate?
I saw a woman on social media who used to work for Kamala Harris, and the points that she was making about Kamala's presidential run or potential presidential run is that she was never prepared, ever. Even in the most stringent moments when you need to be the most prepared, she never was. And this woman said, I don't expect that will change whatsoever, which is what will be what will be the thing that sinks her ship.
You even have Jasmine Crockett, who has towed the party line every single day for Joe Biden, who now is not confident that Kamala Harris can beat Donald Trump. So you're already seeing some people who are really look and know Kamala Harris who are saying they don't think she can handle this.
Well, the Fox News report as of this morning that the reason why this took as long as it did in terms of Joe bowing out is a lack of belief that Kamala Harris could win. That's the report that has been out, and I imagine that hasn't really changed.
Yeah, because there's nothing inspiring about her. There's nothing that makes you go, whoa, I can't wait to run out and vote for her. Nothing. There's nothing.
She's just not Joe.
She's right. That's it.
And that's all it's come down to.
And I think it's really funny that what came true from Donald Trump was, why would we put J.D. Vance to debate Kamala Harris when Kamala Harris is going to be running as president? And they all made jokes about how J.D. Vance was afraid to debate her.
Yeah.
Man,
horrified. I would debate Kamala Harris.
If I'm Trump, I don't debate her. I say, you know what? You wanted to debate Vance? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I reference this
My
more
VP will take you down.
more than a year ago, when I talked about how in Shakespeare, it's always the drunk, it's the jester, it's the person you're not supposed to pay attention to. Donald Trump keeps telling you the truth.
That's right.
Over and over again, he keeps telling you, here's what's going to happen, here's how it's going to play out.
7 o'clock hour brought to you by Van Sant Law. If you're in an accident, make the right call. Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com. When we come back, we'll talk about Team Trump anticipating the Democrats pushing Biden out and was ready with an ad rolling to address it. We'll knock out the headlines too. Next on Xtra 106.3.
Atlanta radio legends, proud military vets, national network experts are all on Xtra 106.3.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months.
With live and local shows in the morning and afternoon, and the biggest conservative hosts in the country throughout the day, we are always here with the latest news and opinions you need.
There's no chance if the media and the Department of Justice and social media are all against you.
No traffic interruptions, no former shock jocks, just Atlanta legends you've turned to for a generation. The conservative voice of Atlanta. Xtra 106.3 FM and the Xtra app.
Hey Atlanta, it's Mark from Atlanta Safe House. The Safe House crew hopes everyone is enjoying their vacation this summer. We know the criminals are watching and waiting for you to leave so they can bust in and steal your stuff. But hey, there is a solution. Come purchase a quality safe from Atlanta Safe House. And with summer rebates and specials, you can save hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a quality safe. And remember, don't let an illegal or crackhead deliver or move your safe. They could very well know your combination. So drop by the showroom or go to atlantasafehouse.com.
Hey, it's Tug from my friends, the Frost family of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about their family's company all the time here on Xtra 106.3. First Liberty has helped hundreds of small businesses grow by saying yes when the big banks say no. On Wall Street, opportunities to earn big returns are everywhere. But for Main Street investors, those opportunities are hard to find. Until now. Our First Liberty notes are now open to qualified Main Street investors, paying interest rates of 8 to 13% while helping fuel the growth of small businesses right here in Georgia. With a few basic qualifications and with as little as $25,000, qualified Main Street investors just like you can earn an 8 to 13% interest rate. If this is you, they'd love to hear from you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and consider joining the First Liberty family today. That's FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at stopmyed.com.
Mark your calendars for the 2024 Ag Pro GON Outdoor Blast Sportsman Show presented by Dallas Safari Club, Georgia Drive Chevy, and Georgia Outdoor News starting July 26th through the 28th at the Lake Point Champion Center in Emerson, Georgia. Get ready for a weekend packed with excitement. Savor mouth-watering dishes at our Barbecue Village featuring top-rated barbecue from 441 South, Inked Pig, Das Barbecue, and Crow's Barbecue. Meet former UGA quarterback Jake Fromm on Friday and Saturday as he shares stories from the gridiron and his outdoor adventures. Think you got what it takes? Enter the 3030 Ministries $1,000 shootout on Saturday. Break a raw egg from 45 feet, qualify for the finals, and compete to win $1,000. And don't miss the 35th annual Truck Buck Shootout on Sunday. Watch as the best Georgia deer hunters compete for the Furminator G3 food plot implement and a brand new truck from John Meagle Chevy. For more information, visit GON.com. Georgia Outdoor News, Georgia's ultimate resource for hunting and fishing.
Diamonds Direct Atlanta is now open. The nation's fastest growing jewelry store now is a location right here in Buckhead. Shopping for the perfect ring to pop the question? Or maybe an everyday diamond tennis bracelet? The experts at Diamonds Direct are sure to have exactly what you're looking for, no matter the occasion. With the lowest direct importer pricing, you can expect the best selection of certified diamonds at unmatched prices, all within a luxury showroom atmosphere that makes you feel right at home. Come see what other jewelers are trying to replicate. Diamonds Direct's unbeatable after-the-sale guarantees and warranties warranties are the best you can find. Free cleanings, sizing, polishing, accent diamond replacement for the lifetime of your purchase. If that's not enough, they also offer a 110% upgrade policy for you to use as often as you'd like on your diamond engagement ring, pendant, or studs. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, come see how Diamonds Direct is reinvigorating the jewelry industry at their brand new Buckhead showroom. When you want to have complete confidence in your jewelry buying experience, shop with the experts at Diamonds Direct. Now open on the corner of Maple Drive Northeast and Peachtree.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
All right, here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, July 22nd. Joe Biden has withdrawn from his re-election campaign and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic candidate for the 2024 presidential race. According to an AJC poll conducted by the University of Georgia School of Public and International Affairs, former President Donald Trump leads Kamala Harris by 5 percentage points in the state of Georgia. Trump holds a 51% to 46% lead, which is outside the 3.1% margin of error. Day 3 of the CrowdStrike global outage has continued to plague travelers and cancel more flights. Hundreds of delayed flights and hours-long line have affected travelers looking to depart Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport for now the 4th consecutive day. Delta Airlines canceled 27 flights yesterday, has 155 delayed flights with only 18 flights on time. CrowdStrike has issued a statement saying it deployed a fix and is working with all impacted customers to ensure systems are back up and to deliver the service their customers are counting on. And in sports, the Atlanta Braves lost 2 of 3 games in the weekend series with the St. Louis Cardinals after a 6-2 loss yesterday at Truist Park. Spencer Schwellenbach took the loss for the Braves after giving up 4 runs on 7 hits, including 3 solo home runs. The Braves will open a series with the Cincinnati Reds tonight at Truist Park. Reynaldo Lopez will be on the mound for the Braves. First pitch scheduled for 7:20. You can catch all the action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
We were talking about Donald Trump being the cultural phenomenon that he is, and that being more acceptable. People are not afraid to say, I'm voting for Donald Trump, maybe put a sign in their front yard, maybe wear a Trump hat or whatever it is. That apprehension is gone, and you saw it yesterday at the Braves game because it was the Cardinals were the first team that I saw do the old hold my ear, fist up, fight from second base after one of the Cardinals hit a big double. And then you saw it with the Mariners, and it started spreading around Major League Baseball. That's the thing that I think, right there with the Tampa Bay Rays. Exactly
Tampa Bay Rays doing the same thing.
And that's the thing, man. I was so surprised to see it. I don't know why I was surprised to see it, but I was. I maybe it's just because it's been so taboo for so long that you couldn't even say, without somebody just barking at you, you couldn't say that you supported Trump or were going to vote for Trump. And now these baseball players are like, F it, boy, I'm in.
Look, it's a movement that people are getting involved and getting behind. And this is why Van Jones thought, oh my gosh, this is like the Barack Obama campaign of 2008. There's an energy behind it. And everybody is saying, hey, this man, I think bigger than anything else, that was a moment of strength when people saw him hold his ear and throw his hand up in the air. It showed America's back and America's strong. And there's a lot of people who are more than willing to get behind the fact that America's the greatest country in the world.
Or could be back, could be strong. Because we're not there yet, right? We have to wait until hopefully President Trump is elected. But there's that ray of hope, if you will.
Well, that's why I said they saw the strength then and there. Right. Of course, we're not there yet, but they saw it, and that's what they want.
We got so much work to do, and that's the thing. Donald Trump and his campaign was ready. They were ready for this moment, ready to roll out the ad.
Kamala was in on it. She covered up Joe's obvious mental decline.
Our president is in good shape, in good health, tireless, vibrant, and I have no doubt about the strength of the work that we have done.
But Kamala knew Joe couldn't do the job, so she did it. Look what she got done. A border invasion, runaway inflation, the American dream dead. They created this mess. Kamala owns this failed record. Make America Great Again Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
When I hear this, the only thing that I would push back on is she did it. She didn't do nothing because she doesn't have any power to do anything, and she didn't have the wisdom to do anything. So she was just mouthing whatever she was told to say.
Well, you link her to 3 things. Obviously, the economy, because this is part of the Biden-Harris economy. You basically link her to, as she's the border czar, this is your fault.
Yep.
And the last thing is, America, she lied to you for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
She knew as much as anybody. She's right with the president. She lied to you for 3.5 years about this man's acuity.
She's talked a lot. And, like I said, the border czar thing's got to be a big player. And that's number one. I think you play that. And like Carlos said, the lie and the economy also. But I think you also need to go back to why we're not safe in this country and why this woman came out right away and endorsed getting rid of tons of police forces, including the ones in California. She was behind that. She was behind the anti-police movement, the defund the police movement. And if you go back and look at early videos of her campaigning and going around, you'll see her saying, hey, we've got to fundamentally take apart the police force and redo it in the way that we want. And this is one of the women who tried to defund the police. And I think that's a message you really need to hit on as well.
Which is crazy, knowing where she's from.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
Why would she ever want to defund the police being from the streets and all?
Let me take you to an alternate reality. All right? We love doing this sort of stuff, right? Something like, let me rethink this. Let me tell you that instead, the person who is now leading this ticket has been a senator for 9 years, is a Yale graduate, has all the backing of what you would want, right? Okay? That was the person who was trailing Joe Biden in 2020. That was Amy Klobuchar. Okay? If we hadn't seen the Democrats go DEI and actually went with the best, strongest person who happened to be a woman, this would be so much more formidable.
No, yeah, for sure.
But
because she could actually hold a conversation.
When Elon Musk flat out tells you that when you go DEI and you have these sort of standards, that it lowers all quality, we are now in the very face, from a presidential standpoint, what happens when you incorporate DEI into your religion.
Yeah.
It should have been somebody so much better to be in this position behind Joe Biden.
Absolutely. There's so many talented people out there.
And to that point, look at President Trump, what he did.
Yeah.
And the person that he... Dude, I watched Halle Bailey Elegy this weekend.
Yeah, good one.
Freaking so good. Have you seen it yet, Lois?
No.
Do yourself a favor. I'm giving you a movie recommendation.
Okay.
I'm hoping you'll go out and watch it.
All right.
Because you know me, Mr. Movie.
Yeah, Mr. Movie.
It was last minute that we watched it Saturday night because the games that we were down in Alabama got rained out.
Well, you're talking about a guy who's a Marine, a veteran, and I mean, there's so much there. And again, I love the fact that we have this ticket. I think it's really strong, and I think it's something. It's kind of easy to kind of roll through Kamala Harris if you do it right.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I just don't want to overlook the mainstream media. 90% of the media saying everything needs to be.
Stay away from the words. Don't be misogynistic and don't talk about race.
Be very patient.
Be very careful.
Be very patient. That's right. What Joe Biden said yesterday did not match what he said just days ago. Next, after a Bortz Report and a Fox News update.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
Late last week, I said that Joe Biden would be gone by Sunday night. Usually, I'm so dead wrong with these spur-of-the-moment opinions, but this one, I just got lucky. It's bye-bye Biden. So really, the story of Joe Biden, that's over now. Now it's the story of Kamala Harris. Well, I say that the Biden story is over, but the Democrat media arm may not want it to happen just yet. To listen to the sycophants on CBS, ABC, and NBC yesterday, especially MSNBC, Joe Biden was simply the most accomplished president in the history of this country. Better than Eisenhower, certainly better than Reagan, FDR, all of them. Joe Biden, number one, the best president in history. Now, not only the media believes this, but of course, the Congressional Black Caucus believes this as well. And we all know what a brain trust they are. So now the story turns to Kamala. How does the media feel about her? Well, Martha Raddatz, or whatever her last name is, said yesterday that Kamala Harris has been pitch perfect on the campaign trail. Do you hear that? Absolutely perfect. Her actions on the campaign trail have bordered on epic. Now, from your standpoint, you, listening to the radio, you, not immersed in the effort to spread Democrat propaganda, you tell me one thing Kamala has done in the past 3.5 years that can, by any stretch of the most vivid imagination, be categorized as exemplary. Oh, hell, even categorized as noteworthy. One thing she did at the border, one mildly interesting policy proposal, anything that hints at even a basic understanding of the American system of governance or the documents of our heritage. I told you months ago this was going to be one hell of an election year. Nailed that one too. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Marketing is everywhere. From the billboards on the highways to the notifications on your phone, we are constantly bombarded with people trying to sell us stuff. What makes good marketing? Are you doing enough in your life personally and professionally to market yourself? You have questions, and the Marketing Madmen have answers. Tune in every Saturday, now at 4 p.m., right here on Extra 106.3 to get practical marketing advice from expert guests who are shaping and reshaping the business world. They say marketing is a madman's game. Join the Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. to find out why.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
Get ready for Real Talk on the Janelle King Show, where we tackle kitchen table topics that are banned from family gatherings, but crucial for a strong republic. Tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday for an encore episode at 9 a.m. And if you can catch us live, great. But if not, no worries. New podcasts drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park right here on Extra 106.3 or wherever you get your podcast. Join us for insightful conversations that matter.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
The Trump campaign getting ready to face a new candidate. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The day after President Biden dropped out of the race and endorsed his vice president.
This morning, still, Democrats cannot point to a single state where Kamala Harris now puts in play where it wasn't before.
Senior Trump campaign advisor Jason Miller tells Fox.
You look at Arizona and Nevada, well, Kamala Harris was Joe Biden's border czar. That's going to be a disqualifier. You take a look at Georgia, Minnesota, where Harris's weak on crime policies will be a disqualifier.
The former president on Truth Social wrote Democrats stole the race from President Biden. Then he's told Fox there should be an investigation into how Americans were misled about the president's mental fitness.
The Clintons say they are, quote, honored to endorse Kamala Harris, and they aren't alone, with 178 Democratic lawmakers following suit with their endorsements.
Fox's Brooke Simon also reports other Democrats have yet to back Harris, despite her raising $50 million already.
Former President Obama issuing a statement praising Biden's work in office without mentioning Harris, instead calling for an open process.
Senator Joe Manchin, who initially had considered re-registering as a Democrat to run, just told CBS he will not. 2 hours from now, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle will testify at a House hearing into security lapses in the Trump assassination attempt.
Many Republican lawmakers want her to resign. Cheadle says she's happy to come here, saying in a statement, I look forward to the panel examining what happened and providing recommendations to help ensure it will never happen again.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson of the Capitol. 2 more Israeli hostages have died in Hamas captivity in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will address Congress on Wednesday, though some Democrats will boycott, upset over the war's effect on Palestinian civilians.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military has ordered the evacuation of an area of Gaza designated a humanitarian zone. Commanders say they're about to attack Hamas fighters who've used the area to launch rockets against Israel.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. America.
Well, summer's here and the weather is beautiful. Everyone has a favorite outdoor activity: golf, bike riding, bird watching, long walks. Ask 100 people, you'll get 100 answers. But if everyday aches and pains are keeping you on the sidelines, I have one answer: Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. Wherever you're hurting, back, neck, joints, or muscles, in 3 weeks or less, you'll start to feel the difference all day, every day. So whatever you like to do, swimming, pickleball, hanging out in the garden, Relief Factor can help you feel good again and let you enjoy all your favorite outdoor activities all summer long. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
Extra 106.3 and Fox are red. CNN and CBS are blue. If you want conservative news and talk, we have just the app for you. Search for the Extra app wherever you download apps.
Back when dudes dressed as women, like Poison. Bret Michaels is doing a huge tour, and it seems like it would be the most fun concert to go to. And look, if I can figure out a way to find tickets to this show, I may go, and I want to invite you to welcoming Bret Michaels Party Gras to Atlanta, August 3rd. It's Bret Michaels, the singer for Poison, obviously Talk Dirty to Me, and Every Rose Has Its Thorn, and Flesh and Blood, and Unskinny Bop, and all the hits.
We can get him on.
We can get Bret Michaels on.
Yeah, he does our sister station every year.
What are we waiting for?
What are we doing? In with this concert series.
What are we doing?
Have you never heard him over on our sister station? Yeah.
But I didn't know who had the number.
Yeah.
I bet Carlos has it in his back pocket.
Well, no, you just ask around.
But you may be able to.
But he'll do some promotion for
this. If you can pull this off.
I would love some glam rock talk.
Woo, me too, baby. Feel it from all. Turn it up, man. Come on. The basement. Lock the cellar door and baby, do what? Let's go.
Considering what's going on in this country, every now and then the turn your brain off moment might be Bret Michaels and Poison.
Dude, do you know how much fun? Because I saw Poison last year, and it was kind of the Def Leppard, Poison, Motley Crue, Joan Jett.
And that was Truist Park?
Truist.
Okay,
dude,
across the street.
The best people on the venue, on the entire bill, was Poison.
Yeah.
They blew everybody away. Def Leppard close second, but I think Poison sounded the very best out of anybody that was on the bill.
By the way, Joan Jett, I know you brought her up.
She's
terrific,
amazing,
too. Man.
She was so terrific.
She looks so good,
She
too.
does.
And
Yeah.
it's, man, I forget how talented she was. But yeah, I mean, whenever you get Poison or Def Leppard, forget it.
Come on, dude. It's party time.
Let's
Excellent.
go.
You know, but listen
We would have
to this.
to put politics aside for about 10 minutes and just let Bret be Bret Michaels,
Yes,
which sounds
absolutely.
really cool.
Dude, it's so much fun. We should all try to go to the show together, dude.
Okay.
We would be sloppy. It would be awful.
Oh, my wife would love that.
Would she?
That would be right.
Would Aaron like it?
Oh, God, yes.
Girlfriend Aaron would be
The
down?
only band we're missing
I'll
that
dress like glam rock band.
Please don't.
Glam rock.
Come on
He's
now.
got all these-
Come on now.
Yeah.
I never knew he had all those scarves.
Seriously. Where'd you get those, like, thigh highs? Rhino? Where'd you get those?
I'm talking about Rhino. Rhino wearing all these scarves.
No, I know.
It'd be
I'm talking
awesome.
My eyeliner.
Yes, absolutely. All way long.
My blonde wig.
Yes. Also on the bill, Lou Gramm, who is the original singer for Foreigner. I mean, like all the Foreigner hits. I mean, they've had a couple singers over the years after he left the band, but then he had hits on his own. Don Felder from the Eagles. Dee Schneider from freaking Twisted Sister. Let's go. Dude, so much fun. And then country star Chris Jansen also on this bill. And he's had probably 10 hits in country music. So, I mean, Party Gras is legit. If you want to go see Bret Michaels, Chris Jansen, Lou Gramm, Don Felder, and Dee Schneider, August 3rd, Maris Bank Amphitheater. Now, Alpharetta, be caller number, what do you say, Joey?
1063.
There we go. Caller 1063. Joey got a long.
I don't think I can count that high.
Okay, let's go with the first
You
person.
always know, but see,
He can be really busy.
you always say 1063 and then you
Yeah.
actually take 5.
I know.
I mean,
yeah,
right?
what are you doing?
See,
Don't
that's-
ruin the game.
That's inexperience.
We used
talking.
to do this when I worked for Star 94. We'd be like, the 94th caller. It'd be
That's
like
right.
the 5th person in
Yeah.
there. It'd be like, you're caller number 94.
We always did by 10s.
Right.
At 1015, we'd
Yeah,
be
you
like,
pick
your
up your
caller
call
10,
10.
20, 34. That's the way we did it, to get to
I
94.
pretty much would go caller 1, caller 2, caller 9, you win.
Let's go! So, yes. Yeah. we
don't
just
break down that fourth
That's
wall of
right.
those top 40 stations out there.
peek behind the kimono is what that is.
Yes.
But if you want to go, we'll take caller 5. We'll be honest about it. I think maybe we'll be honest about it. I don't know what Joe's going to do, but we think we'll be honest about
Really,
it.
we're not in charge of this. This is Joe's operation.
That's
This is
exactly
Joe's
right.
game.
So if Joe does it wrong,
You could
it's on
bribe
Joe.
him, too. Probably be like, hey, I'll take you with me, Joe.
Are you calling him fat?
No. Well, yeah, all the
with
time.
With a biscuit, you can bribe him with a biscuit.
A biscuit, absolutely.
You might be able to bribe the whole show with a biscuit. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Throw some gravy and I'm in.
Oh, heck yeah, man. So anyway, caller 5 if you want to go to Party Gras. We want to send you. Got a pair of tickets for you to go to the show. August 3rd, Barris Bank Amphitheater in Alpharetta. 9 days ago, I want you to hear what Joe Biden said just 9 days ago.
What's Joe Biden going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Yeah. He's going to drop out.
No.
Here's my answer. I am running, and we're going to win.
Go, Joe!
Go, Joe! Like a CIG. Go, Joe!
I almost bought it.
I know.
But I never did buy it. And I don't think a lot of people bought it. And like I've said from the beginning, as people kept saying, he's got all the cards. He's going to stay in. He's not going to leave. These are the words he has to say. I mean, you can't hit him for that. They're telling him, you can't go in there and say, hey, I'm going to try to stay, but I might not. You got to be strong in that. So I don't blame Joe for having to go out there and push that. And in all honesty, did you guys really think he was going to go easy anyway? No.
Well, see, that's the thing for me. He had all the cards, and it wasn't. I mean, his staff didn't even know he was stepping down. So the fact that it happened yesterday took everybody surprise, including the people that work for him.
There's an article in the New York Times, and I'm going to give credit to all the people that are part of this. Katie Rogers, Michael D. Shear, Peter Baker, and Zolan Kano-Youngs. These are the 4 people that all have a piece of this story that then have this entire article. It's entitled Inside the Weekend When Biden Decided to Withdraw.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Really in depth. And it'll point out, at 11:30 yesterday morning, he was still all in, which is why you had everyone going on Face the Nation and every other network television show saying, Joe's in, Joe's going with this.
Sure.
It wasn't until a couple hours down the road, who knows what changed, but that's where this article starts to point out where he let 3 people know.
Again, I don't believe it. I don't believe that. I mean, there's no reason whatsoever that they didn't know. They knew this was coming because, look, Axios nailed it on Friday, and so did so many other media outlets that knew and heard through their personal sources that this was happening Sunday morning. They threw out it was going to happen on Sunday. So I can't believe, I mean, again, you guys, they can sit here and tell me that his staff didn't know. I ain't buying that.
Politico's reporting they didn't know. They found out a minute before the announcement. I think they threatened him. They finally said, dude, the money's dried up. Obama's pushing him. Pelosi's pushing him. The money's dried up. We are going to pull the 25th on you. If you do not step down, if you do not write this letter, we are going to pull the rug out from under you and embarrass you on a worldwide scale. And finally, he gave in. That's what I believe happened.
You think he cares about being... He's embarrassed himself on a worldwide scale daily.
He don't think that, though.
No, of course not, because Jill continued to tell him. Axios having that right away and nailing it to Sunday, I'm sorry, I just still can't buy it. Now, was everything in place, or was the deal in place? Because that's what I think it came down to. Did Jill, Joe, Hunter, and Jim Biden get everything they needed to make sure that, number one, Hunter's going to get pardoned now, even though I think Joe Biden would have done it anyway, and I still think obviously he will, and that's why he's staying in place. But I think they finally got the package they wanted and then went ahead and said, okay, I know your plan is Sunday, let's do it. I mean, we all know the weekend and how they lay it out and what they want the news cycle to be. It was, I mean, no matter what, a president stepping out of a race like this was going to be huge news. So I don't think they really thought this through and said, hey, we can really avoid the news cycle.
So in the movie, if you've ever seen Casino, there's a scene where they catch some guys cheating. And the person's basically told, listen, you can have the money or the hammer. You can't have both.
Right.
All right? You're either going to take this beating or you're going to take this money. I firmly believe that Axios knew the money or the hammer is coming down on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because why would they have it in the way that they did and to know how it was going to play out, and why that at 11 o'clock in the morning, 11:30 in the morning, he's still in it, he's still pushing, and that by 1:45, he tells his 3 closest confidants at that point, hey, I'm out, and the post goes out at 1:46. It's either the money or the hammer. One way or another, they were going to bring something down on Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knew that this is a deal. This is like going down to the last day of the trade deadline. Like, hey, these are the cards I have. So, yeah, at 11:30, he didn't get what he wanted yet. And as soon as he got what he wanted, then he's willing to. This was the plan for a long time, though.
Or got the threat he needed.
Or got the threat, exactly.
Now you're talking. Now you've hit the nail on the head.
That's what I'm saying. It's one or the other in my mind. That Axios had the story of, this is what's going to be coming Joe's way Sunday, and he's going to have to make a decision.
I don't believe Joe Biden at all was going to step down on Sunday. I do not believe he was. And I would tell you on top of that, when they brought that hammer down, that's when he knew he had no other choice. Because if they say, we're going to put the 25th on you, where are you going?
Sure.
That's the end all be all, right?
Yeah.
That was the hammer that he had no rebuttal to.
Yeah, I just find it coincidence that Newsweek reported that it was going to be Sunday. Axios reported it was going to be Sunday. So many other outlets were reporting it was going to be Sunday. And
But how many times have they reported stuff like that and it not been right?
But how many times did they report it and it was right in the biggest probably story in 50 years?
Now, they could have known, they could have been tipped off, hey, we're going to tell him 25th on Sunday, no matter if he chooses. Sure. Man, it could have came down like that. I could see that.
That's what I believe, because if you're going to, first off, you're going to tell me like, well, hey, how do they have it all right? Listen, they've been telling us for the longest amount of time things that were just false, okay?
Right.
Like, we all recognize that. What I think a lot of this came down to is that when you strip away what was going to be the last 5 months of his presidency, which could include pardons, could include a lot of power over the last 5 months, albeit lame duck. You're not getting anything pushed through, but you can, through executive action or through pardon, get some stuff done. I think that the threat was, it's 25th, and you get none of this.
Or you get to stay.
Right.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, that's
definitely.
nothing. Yeah, because you're handcuffed. That is the ultimate trump card of everything that they had. Yeah. And that's the one he goes, I can't overcome
And no
this.
one's ever been... Again, we've had the 25th Amendment enacted before when presidents have had surgeries. Kamala Harris was president for like 30 minutes earlier, in this tenure. But we've never had one formally removed by the 25th, and that's what he would have been carrying around.
That's
his legacy.
Worldwide embarrassment.
I think that's the hammer
he was about to wear.
That's the only thing that makes sense as far as everyone saying this is what we're going to bring down on you.
But we brought this up, how many times? Look, weeks ago, I was like, hey, this is what they're doing. This is what they want. He's going to fight for this. They're going to fight with, hey, we're going to ruin your presidency. We're going to take you out. And we talked about the 25th for so long and had them using that against him. And I think everything just kind of lined up. I think everybody knew, and I'm sure it was leaked out because that's the game you got to play. They wanted him out. They leaked it out to Axios, Newsweek, and everybody else. Hey, we're going to get him out by Sunday. And of course, Biden's going to play as hard as he can until it was probably pushed upon him. But I don't think there was any doubt 2 weeks ago that this was going to be the case. I don't think there was any doubt whatsoever after the debate that when he was exposed that, hey, let's go ahead and start the plan of, we got to get him out. What's it going to take to get him out? And what do we need to threaten him with? And it just all happened to be, by the end of the day Sunday, you're to step down. Otherwise, we're going to take the other option.
Yeah. Sure. I don't find it inappropriate to call this a coup.
Not at all.
That's totally what it is.
We talked about how with the 25th Amendment, what you needed was the vice president and a majority of his staff. Okay? So when you look at what has gone on over the past couple of weeks, I think they got to the point Friday where it became, listen, it's most of his staff and the VPs on board.
That's it.
So, Joe,
they
you
were
got
aligning
the
people.
weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
You got the weekend to make the decision.
Now that sounds logical.
That's
to me.
it. Sure. And again, we could talk about it's a golden parachute, and I'm sure that comes along with it.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
they give him the benefits, absolutely. All that.
But it is, Joe, do you want the hammer or do you want the money?
That's right.
Because you're going to get one or the other.
And this way, you kind of get both a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you have to step down, but then you get the golden parachute or the sweetened
The hammer would have been the 25th.
Yeah. Well, because my threat to him, if I were a Democrat strategist, would be like, hey, I know you want to pardon Hunter. We're not going to do it if we'll get you out. You won't even have that ability. And Kamala Harris or whoever we put in, we'll make sure she doesn't pardon you.
That's right.
And doesn't pardon Jim
right.
and doesn't pardon your son or look into everything else. And they just held it over his head. Look, they abused this man from 2019 on. I mean, as soon as they tried to install him in, they have abused this man and used him, and this is how they end his presidency. It is an embarrassment. And when Donald Trump says things like, hey, he's the worst president of all time, it sure looks that way. I mean, what kind of president you've backed him? You've said he's done so much more, no matter his cognitive decline. Joe Biden has done so much for the American people, and then now you're like, yeah, but not enough, so we're going to go ahead and sack him. It looks really bad, and it makes it look like, hold on, the president who did so much couldn't even finish his term? Yeah, worst president of all time.
How about the idea, and I thought about this yesterday, that the man who garnered 81 million votes, more than anyone in history, who had these many accomplishments, they want to tell, one of the best presidents ever, and he was forced out by his own party?
And on top of that, like this morning, right, it's all praise. how brave Joe Biden is, and how smart he is, and how wise he is to understand that he's not capable and he's going to take a step back. Can you imagine if they would have had to invoke the 25th yesterday? And the difference in storyline today, it wouldn't be he's a patriot. It wouldn't be that he's wise. It was we had to do it for his own good. He wasn't even capable of understanding what was up against him. We just did it because we care about him so much, almost turning the spotlight on them. Look, we're the saviors. This morning, because of the way it went, he's the savior.
I think that's the hammer, Rhino.
Yeah, well, yeah. But again, they made him go to Delaware, had COVID. I said it that day. He's not coming back as the president. And you know what? It came
You don't
to
think
be.
he's coming back as the president?
Well, what I meant was coming back as the nominee. Like I said the day after. I mean, you could go back and look at the tweets I put out there that day that he had COVID.
You're like, he ain't coming back to run this thing.
And you know what? I mean, he hasn't run this thing in general. But I mean, it was all there. They were planning this. Hey, you got COVID. You're going to Delaware. We'll figure out the options then. I mean, this was a planned effort to get him to step out of this race.
How much fun is it that they're still using COVID as their general? Like in this office, I'd have been like, well, I need a couple days off. COVID.
Yeah,
But that doesn't fly around here. But within their circles, COVID is still the ultimate.
Flu.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah, but it's just pink eye.
Yeah,
much like
swine flu's coming back too now. I heard that.
Had only I been around the right people and gotten monkeypox.
Man. Slatoon is at 404-741-1230. What's on your mind this morning, sir? Thank you for calling. Good to hear from you.
I don't believe that part when they said that staff didn't know. Only person that did know that he was going to step it down, it's Biden probably.
Mm-hmm.
But this is good for Biden, what's going on right now, because now when Kamala loses to Trump, he can say, like, you see, if I was running, I would still win it.
He would have the out.
Trump and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he would have the out.
He's got the record. Like in reality, I mean, whether we believe it or not or whatever else, what they tell their voters is he had the record. This is what he's done. Kamala doesn't have a record, and she's going to be bashed on the border. She was the border czar, and it's the biggest failure at the southern border we've seen in history. And so...
I was just thinking,
maybe Barack Obama.
Well, I was just thinking about this too. Just as you were mentioning that, it hit me at a ton of bricks. Joe Biden gets to on his way out. And again, I do a giant wink here. Okay, like I'm winking at the microphone, going, "Ha ha!" You get what I'm doing here. But you had Donald Trump and the Bushes, essentially, and the Obamas. You then had him basically take out the Clintons. And Joe's the only one who gets to claim the scalp of Donald Trump. Like, I'm the one who beat him.
Yeah, I'm the only one.
I'm the only one. Look who all he took out. And yet, I'm the... Now, it doesn't apply to this time around, but that is the one thing he gets to hold up the finger and say, I'm the champion.
That's
he sure is.
And the crazy thing about that is the fact that now they said, we don't care what you did. Get out. They're pushing his wheelchair down the cliff, like
they open the door and kick. All you see is a foot and Joe go down the stairs.
That's exactly right,
man. It's a life alert, but nobody on the other end.
I'm falling and I can't get up. Oops. So bad. Anyway, Morning Extra and Extra 106.3 when we come back. 178 Democrats in favor of negating the voters who voted for Joe Biden for president. We'll talk about that as well as Kamala Harris. And will she be able to pick up the delegates that she needs to be the nominee? Next on Extra 106.3. Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10. The 8 o'clock hour brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier expert. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Pete, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Have you seen these videos of Joe Biden, our president? It's embarrassing for our country and very telling to our enemies. The leader of the greatest nation in the world, of the strongest military in the world, is senile and demented and can only act when carefully scripted and managed by somebody who.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watch Company, where quality and value make the difference. Locally owned and located in Sandy Springs, offering you the finest selection of unique diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and emerald jewelry, as well as other fine gemstones. Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watches has been servicing Rolex watches for over 30 years, and their Rolex-trained watchmaker will service your watch in their state-of-the-art Rolex service center in their store. Lee Brandt uses only genuine Rolex parts, and their estimates are free. Drop by Lee Brandt in the Trader Joe's shopping center in Sandy Springs or visit LeeBrandt.com.
Have you thought about securing your hard-earned assets? Do you have concerns about the future? Protecting assets is crucial, and that's where Nelson Elder Care Law excels. As a family-owned and family-focused firm, we provide absolute assurance and peace of mind through our trademarked Absolute Protection Trust, tailored services in estate planning, probate administration, Medicaid crisis solutions, guardianship, and conservatorship. Our goal is to exceed your expectations and empower informed decisions. Visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com for asset protection and peace of mind.
Customer service seems like a lost art these days, but EMC Security is bringing it back. I was blown away with their service. They answer the phone quickly and truly want to help you, which is rare these days. My technician was friendly, answered all my questions, and got everything installed perfectly. I highly recommend EMC Security.
EMC Security, exceeding customer expectations since 1998. Call or visit emcsecurity.com for a free quote.
The EQE SUV electrifies the spirit, soul, and body of the Mercedes-Benz SUV. User-friendly technology meets thoughtful utility, thorough refinement, and earth-friendlier power. Satisfying for both drivers and passengers with innovations that only Mercedes-Benz can deliver. Experience the all-electric 2024 Mercedes-Benz EQE 350 SUV today. Lease one for just $759 per month for 36 months with $72.53 due at signing, exclusively from RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this vehicle and many other models, and visit today to see how to qualify. Special lease rate available only to qualified customers exclusively from Mercedes-Benz Financial Service through RBM of Atlanta, Sandy Springs through July 31st, 2024. Excludes tax, tag, title, and Georgia Lemon Law fees. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this and other exciting offers. Visit rbmofatlanta.com or call us at 770-390-0700 for details.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
Have you heard about Sonder and their Georgia-based Medicare Advantage health plans? Sonder Health Plans is committed to revolutionizing healthcare, making it straightforward, personal, and affordable. Call them and ask if you qualify for their fantastic $400 grocery card offer and $0 premiums. They've even got their own radio show and podcast called Weekend Wellness, dedicated to keeping all Georgians healthy and happy at every age. Call 800-331-2928 or visit SonderHealthPlans.com. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
If you notice any cracks in your foundation, they are not going to go away. They need to be addressed as soon as possible to reduce additional costs that come with repair. Ramjack is the best company in the industry for repairing your foundation. We have the highest quality products in the nation. So, if you are experiencing foundation problems, please contact us at ramjack.com/Atlanta or call us at 770-502-8881. That's 770-502-8881.
You're right, and so are we. Welcome to Extra 106.3.
The memes, the discussion, all on Extra 106.3, and then across social media as well. You can find us at Extra 106.3. If you missed any of the show this morning, go back and listen to it on the Extra 106.3 app, especially about 7:25 when Brian Tyson from the Election Lawyers came on. Incredible insight from a man who does election law for a living, discussing just the legal hoops that everybody's having to jump through on the Democrat side. But go back and listen to it on the Extra 106.3 app. A great way to get some insight that you wouldn't get anywhere else except Extra 106.3. So there's just so much that's on social media that's kept us laughing, from crazy Harris 2024 logos, and then a lot of interaction at Extra 106.3. So we'd love to have you interact there too. 178 Democrats in favor of negating the voters who voted for Joe Biden. Los, do you have that tweet from Harmeet Dillon up? Because this is the one that I think summarizes it so well, and everybody in the room got a good kick out of it, but it's the truth.
She writes, and this was as of yesterday, if this S was happening in another country, assassination attempt on an opposition leader, disappearing the current president, and installing a puppet regime overnight, the UN would send special forces and the warmongers would start to feel a tingle up their legs.
Man, she could not be more correct,
Big
Rhino. That's
picture
the thing.
view.
She's nailed it so many times. I think so much of her. I think she's such a wise woman.
She is.
And she needs to be a major part of the Republican Party moving forward as far as strategy for all Republican candidates.
Yeah, I think she should have been running the RNC when, the option was up for her to have that ability. But she's absolutely right. I mean, everything that we've seen so far, whether you like it or not, it makes our country look like there is a coup. It makes it look like a complete insurrection and takeover of the government. They're installing Kamala Harris. They don't care what people voted for, which was Joe Biden. They pushed him out so they could put in who they want. And now you don't have a choice because that's who you're going to have to vote for when it comes to the DNC convention. They already took RFK Jr. out of your way. They did that way before we even had an opportunity to vote for him in a primary. If anybody wanted to vote for him, he was off the ticket. Now he had to go to a third party. So if anybody has a complaint, I think the Democrats have a good complaint of the threat to democracy.
The man that the moment he talks, I pretty much say I'm taking the opposite of whatever he says.
You're talking about RFK?
No, that's Adam Schiff.
Oh, got it.
Whenever Adam Schiff, who's running for senator in California, whenever he says anything, you can pretty much go the exact opposite is happening. That's how this man exists. And he told the Today Show, as of this morning, there was no coordinated campaign to get Biden out and Harris in.
And nobody believe that. Even people that love Kamala Harris, that worship at the altar of the Democrat Party, nobody believes that.
No
Rhino.
coordinated
There's not a
effort.
chance that anybody believes that.
No, there's not. And you know what? I mean, I guess you could say it wasn't just Kamala. Then maybe there was other people in there. But one way or another, they were looking. This is the opportunity they had. They were going to run Biden all the way through if he wasn't exposed in a debate and exposed. They lied so long right up to the debate that he's fine, including Kamala Harris, who really, I mean, you should hold responsible for. You're the VP. You saw this coming. You have the ability to call for the 25th. You have the ability to talk to the cabinet and say, hey, we have a problem here. Our president isn't all there. She didn't keep us safe. And that's the way I hope that Donald Trump and the Republicans run this. She's responsible for the decline of this country by allowing a man for the past 4 years that we all knew wasn't all there, wasn't able to make good decisions. So she's responsible as well. So obviously, in my eyes and everybody else's, she was handpicked for this job.
There was no one else that could have waved the flag, that could have more than
her.
We could say it all day.
Sure.
People on TV could say it all day. Websites could say it all day. But she was the only one that had the authority and
to
the
protect our
platform.
country.
That's exactly right. And she chose not to. She was even asked, and I'm sure you've seen everyone's seen it, when she was like, if something happened and you needed to make the call, could you do it? And she was like, yes, of course I could. Now, there's no reason to. Joe's just fine. And knowing that was not the case.
Well, you have to play the line of defending the party line. Like, that's going to be part of it. That Joe's fine, and they were going to have to do that. But get it at its heart. She is part of the great lie. The big lie that this is what Joe was able to accomplish, and then he's fine. So if you just want to tell me that this woman, right off the start, right off the jump, it's that she lied to me for 3.5 years about the functionality of the American president, okay, what else is going to come out of your mouth that I'm going to take seriously?
Well, you can never take anything seriously because she can't string a sentence together that's coherent. She can't talk about anything of consequence because she turns it into a nursery rhyme.
Well, this is really about those people that are, I don't even think that there's undecideds, but the people that are in the middle. You're always going to have the Democrats that are going to fall in line behind whoever it's going to be.
Yeah, sure.
That was always going to happen with
Aunt
Joe
Peg.
or Kamala, regardless. Yes, Aunt Peg is, right now, she's got streamers up. She's got her Kamala Harris.
Celebrating.
Oh, yeah, she's so excited. But when you just look at the middle, when you look at the people that are the undecided voters, whatever you call them, the independent voters, they're the ones that are looking at Kamala Harris and saying, seriously? Like, you lied to me for this long and you're telling me that you were the border czar and it's this bad? You were the border czar.
But I don't think, at least the washed in the blood Democrats like Aunt Peg, they'll dismiss that so quickly.
Oh, it's got a D next to the name.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to check the box, and I can't wait for the media to start rallying around. That way I can start cheering again. They've had nothing to cheer for. I watched the RNC with Aunt Peg. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, it was dead silence. It was awkward at times. And but once or twice she was actually complimentary of Donald Trump. I almost fell out of my chair. You know why she did it? because she had nothing to cheer for on her side. She had nothing to rebut it. She was, for a minute, wavering in her support quietly. But then now she's got something to cheerlead for. Now she's got something to flip on MSNBC for. And, whoa, this is going to be the greatest. Kamala's going to be the greatest of all time. I'm so glad she's come in to save us. She's going to save us from Donald Trump. These people are going to rally behind Kamala Harris like she's the greatest thing since sliced bread, knowing that she's not.
They don't care about her record or anything else. They are going to run on, hey, she's black and she's female. I mean, and these are good things in their eyes. Listen, I have no problem with having a great black female vice president or president. But I do care about the content of the character, and I do care about what they do and their record, and I don't see one here. But they don't need that. They need emotion, and that's what she's here for. She's going to stir that emotion. The only thing she's been working on is two things: a fight for women and their rights, which is really not going to register with 75% of people in this country, but it will with that minority that gets out there and is loud and will continue down that. Of course, they're going to celebrate the fact that they have a woman running for president right now.
I just retweeted this from Allie Bradley, News Nation, and she confirmed this, that Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens, who's been in the job for a year, has never spoken with Kamala Harris. Okay, you'd say, all right, well, you know what? Fine, that's just how it goes. Retired Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz, who's had the job for the previous years, confirmed he's never spoken with the border czar.
There's been no contact whatsoever. And I think that story's been out there, but it's not been covered in great detail. But you shouldn't be surprised.
It just comes to light again that this person was given, you were given this one job.
But
one
that's
job.
The thing. I almost feel like they hung that job on her knowing exactly what they were going to do. And let's see how bad we can damage her. She can take all the arrows while we allow people to come in. We'll let her be the border czar, knowing that they're going to let 10 million people in the country.
Yeah, look, that's a big one. And I think that's something that you run with. And I hope that we do stay on issues that matter. I hope we do stay on the border. I hope we stay on the economy. Because if I'm going up against her, I'm going to ask what your ideas are about the economy. Because I know what the answer is going to be. Money is money. And we have $1, and the dollar is $1. And if you break it down, it's 4 quarters. And you're like, this is all I'm going to get out of her. So I want to make sure that we challenge her only on the issues. Because quite honestly, I don't think she's strong enough to stand on the issues that Americans care about today.
No, she's definitely not. You're 100% right. The thing that I think that irritates me the most is that the Democrats are saying, yeah, Joe's not going to run. He's not capable of running. But for running the country until January, yes, of course he's got that. Dude, he's got dementia. We think he's got Parkinson's. He's got the nuclear code. You're telling me that he's not capable of running a campaign or walking upstairs, but he is capable of running the most powerful country in the world until January? That's what you want me to believe? And you're standing by it. You're acting like this is no big deal. Of course he's going to stay in office. Why would he leave office? Everything is great. What are y'all worried about? That's the thing that I think if there's anything that's going to get under voters' skin, that might be the thing that moves the needle the most.
Yep. Absolutely, and I think that's what we need to do. And look, I'm looking forward to it. I really do want to see a debate now. Now, if I'm Donald Trump, I would play the game of, well, I thought you were going to debate J.D. Vance. Seems like we were right. Boy, you sure threw out a letter real quick that, J.D. was afraid to debate you, even though we said exactly what was going to happen, because even they knew. We don't even think that, you're going to be the vice presidential candidate, so we're going to prepare for you. And Trump was ready. The minute he announced there was here's who Kamala Harris is and here's who we're running against, and I'd continue down that path. I mean, I would make them look exactly who they are, the biggest threat to democracy in American political history.
I just don't know what Kamala is going to do to get people to listen to her. Maybe she won't have to, because you're going to have the mainstream media, and 96% of them are going to be like my Aunt Peg, shaking the pom-pom. So maybe she won't have to engage at all. Maybe there won't be anything that she'll need to say, but at some point in a debate, somebody's going to put her in a position to ask her a question, and when she fumbles it, is that the straw that breaks the camel's back right there in her campaign?
There's going to be gaffes. There's going to be her trying to... Her entire job as vice president, I've said this many times before, is you're trying to just put up the PR wing for your party and for your administration. You're supposed to be the person everyone likes because they're not in charge. They are the backup quarterback. And she was so bad at it that her likability is actually below Joe Biden's.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Like, he's sitting there at like 33, 34%, and hers is below his. And so I think a lot of this comes down to the Democrats had a choice. Run a non-functioning human, or, all right, foolish Kamala, at least she's functioning. And maybe it's the lesser of the two evils.
Yep. Maybe.
I mean, I got a problem over here. This one can't function.
Yeah.
This one can, but nobody likes her.
The realistic thing is, again, she's going to run on women's rights. She's going to run on the same thing they were running on, that, Donald Trump is an issue for the American people, and she's not. And they're going to continue down the path of what they were doing. She's going to take the torch of Joe Biden, and she's going to continue down that path. And that's what they have to run on at this point. They have nothing else to run on.
I think, and this is something Joe and I were talking about, her likability, I think, does go up because she's going to have the entire mainstream media cheerleading for her. But when she opens her mouth, then the likability is going to stop. There's going to be a ceiling there because you can't get by who you are.
If I'm part of that administration, if I'm part of her team, I don't allow her to do any kind of news conferences unless it's scheduled by the White House at this point. And again, I would play the same game I did with Biden. We're not going to take any questions. We're going to get out there. We're going to do our prepared speech and walk away from that. I don't allow any debates or any off the script talking from Kamala Harris, because she can deliver the message that it's time for women to stand up and take this country. It's time for this and that and the other, and all the pandering that they've done to the black community. That's where they're going to pander. They're trying to win back black votes. They're trying to win white liberal women, which they're going to with emotion.
Tug, I have a question for you.
Yeah, buddy.
I need you to think about your life in these terms.
Okay.
Hypothetically, let's say you and your wife get divorced.
Oh, God.
Let's say tomorrow she's like, I want a divorce.
Oh, that's jarring.
It's very jarring, right?
Yeah.
All right. So when would you feel comfortable dating again?
Oh, my gosh. We've been married 23 years. It'd be a while.
It'd be a while,
It's going to
right?
be some time, yeah.
2 weeks at least.
Yeah, that's right. At least 2 weeks.
Because the Democrat Party just divorced themselves from Joe Biden, and now Kamala can't come right out and just start dating.
That's why Barack Obama didn't endorse her immediately. Don't you think?
You have to have this period of let everything calm down a little bit.
Yep.
Let's let the surrogates out there, and then we'll have Kamala come up. That's why she's so quiet. That's why you haven't heard anything as of yet. She can't speak before Joe Biden does.
Well, she's going to have to, because she's going to speak at the NAACP event that's going on. Is it today at the White House that she's going to be in place of Joe Biden? She's going to have to speak.
It's not going to be good. I'm just saying, I didn't put you in a situation of your wife passing on and then you started dating like 2 weeks later, okay? But that's kind of the scenario that we're talking here. You can't get out there that quickly, and they need her to, but it's going to be a terrible look.
8 o'clock hour brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier expert, 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, July 22nd. Joe Biden has withdrawn from his re-election campaign and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic candidate for the 2024 presidential race. According to an AJC poll conducted by the University of Georgia's School of Public and International Affairs, former President Donald Trump leads Kamala Harris by 5 percentage points in the state of Georgia. Trump holds a 51% to 46% lead, which is outside the 3.1% margin of error. Day 3 of the CrowdStrike global outage has continued to plague travelers and cancel more flights. Hundreds of delayed flights and hours-long lines have affected travelers looking to depart Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport for the third consecutive day. Delta Airlines canceled 27 flights yesterday and had 155 delayed flights, with only 18 flights on time. CrowdStrike has issued a statement saying it deployed a fix and is working with all impacted customers to ensure systems are back up and to deliver the service to their customers are counting on. And in sports, the Atlanta Braves lost 2 of 3 games in the weekend series with the St. Louis Cardinals after a 6-2 loss yesterday at Truist Park. Spencer Schwellenbach took the loss for the Braves after giving up 4 runs on 7 hits, including 3 solo home runs. The Braves will open a series with the Cincinnati Reds tonight at Truist Park. Reynaldo Lopez will be on the mound for the Braves. First pitch scheduled for 7:20. You can catch all the action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
Coming up on Extra 106.3 in the Morning Extra, Tuck, Rhino, and Los, the next 5 months are perilous for America. on Extra 106.3.
President Joe Biden has just announced that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race.
History-making decisions like these are not to be taken lightly, which is why the conservative voice of Atlanta brings you the local and national voices you need most to make sense of all the noise. We bring you proud veterans, Atlanta Talk radio legends, and local perspectives that shape our communities.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months right here on Extra 106.3.
We've all heard it before. Buy one, get one Windows. 10% off if you call today. $500 off if you sign tonight. But are these really a special? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Hi, this is Candace with Exovations, and have I got a tip for you. Don't fall for it. It's exhausting trying to keep up with all the fake specials being offered. And we all say the same thing. We're all licensed, we're all insured, we all have 5-star reviews. At Exovations, we want to earn your business the right way. But don't take our word for it. Let us show you why we say we are different from other contractors. To find out what it means to have an on-time, on-budget, and stress-free renovation, call me today at 770-205-2995 or online at exovations.com. That's exovations.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. We handle bonds throughout Metro Atlanta, including from our newest offices in Cherokee County and Clayton County. In most cases, we can have you or your loved one out of jail in a matter of hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at stopmyed.com.
Get ready for unfiltered conversations on The Janelle King Show, where we tackle the topics that you won't hear at your family gatherings, but they're absolutely crucial for a strong republic. Don't miss us live every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3. But if you can't tune in, that's okay. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Join us for these discussions, and I can't wait to meet you there.
The summer's got you thinking about hitting the road, and with back to school right around the corner, you need a vehicle built for the road and safe enough for the family. And Subaru of Gwinnett on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth has it for you. Like the 2024 Subaru Outback, which will take you as far as you want to explore with symmetrical all-wheel drive, plus up to 32 miles per gallon. And if you're up for adventure, it'll get you off the beaten path with up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance, more than Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4, or the Subaru Forester, the SUV for all the adventures ahead, with a spacious and comfortable interior for everyone you want to bring along. And no matter where the adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com or come visit us today on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth. We're Subaru of Gwinnett.
Your voice, your vote. And this year it matters more than ever. So for the unbiased election coverage that affects your family and your community, trust the voices that matter when it matters the most. Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Democracy's at stake. That's what they said over and over and over again. And They were right. It was just coming from their side. That's the difference.
Your votes didn't count.
Yeah, that's right. If you voted for Joe Biden, sorry about your luck, pal.
You're silly.
But the next 5 months are perilous for the United States of America, Los.
Man, we are in such a weird place because now we have decided that for the first time in, what did we say, 50 years, you have a president who is not going to seek re-election. So that's now happening. But then you also have the cognitive issues that are going on. And so I think to myself, if you were ever going to test the United States, more so, like we've obviously had people that have been kind of pushing at us, wouldn't the next 5 months be one of the most dangerous periods? Because it's not just someone who is unable to run for president. If you can't run for president, what makes you think you can execute the job? And they've told us already, he's got a very limited window from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon where he's functional.
He's the ultimate lame duck, Rhino.
Oh, yeah.
That's, I mean, that's if there is a better description, I don't know it.
Yeah, that or a puppet. He's the ultimate puppet, and he's been such a good puppet for them and has done everything they wanted to until, well, unfortunately, maybe the little eye that they sewed on fell off. Your puppet, you got to retire it, and that's what they did. They retired it, and now they've got another puppet, and this is what they're going to do, and they're going to continue down this path. They have a vision of what they want to do, and it's not Kamala Harris, and it wasn't Joe Biden. It's people behind the scenes. It's the Alex Soroses. It's the ones that we talk about all the time. I mean, there's no doubt in people's mind, and you're just proving it true because you didn't give the people the option of who they wanted. They wanted Joe, and you all were in agreement. You all told us he was fine until he wasn't, until he was exposed. But hey, you kept saying that doesn't matter. But then it does matter. So which is it? And that's where the big problem is. And this is why people, I don't think, should trust. And we need to continue down that path and push that message out.
That's right. Had the debate not happened, we wouldn't be having this conversation today because they would have still been behind him saying everything is good to go. Do not believe your eyes. Cheap fakes. All the other nonsense. And to your point, Los, I felt like the whole CrowdStrike thing on Friday was like a little test run. I feel like that whether it's the Chinese or the Iranians or the Russians, whomever it is, they're going, okay, let's see what we can get away with. That way, when we're ready, let's say it's the Chinese, when we're ready to invade Taiwan, we're going to do something like that in America to take their eye off the ball. So they're going to be in such chaos, they won't be able to respond to an invasion in Taiwan.
We have so many soft targets.
Yeah.
That's what it comes, whether it's our electrical grid,
water sources,
whether it's our water sources, whether it's our system of communication,
energy.
I mean, consider that we actually had, for the most part, grounded so much of our domestic flights over software. For hours.
And that's easy to do for them. And they've shown it time after time. And there's been examples of, let's be honest, of what happened. This happened on a Friday. And I don't know. We're going to have to see more information. I don't know if we'll ever get it from CrowdStrike or anyone else about what actually happened. But the reality of it is this. They noticed over that week, there was a period of weakness in this country where a former president was almost assassinated and the country was in turmoil. There were calls throughout the week of Joe Biden stepping down as president from his own party. They didn't even know who their candidate was. What better time to strike a country than in some of its weakest moments? We've already seen China throw over spy balloons. How many spy balloons were flying over the United States?
More than one.
Yeah,
that's right.
And a lot of them. Not during Trump. Not during Trump. So as soon as they see weakness, they attack. We're going to find out more about this CrowdStrike. We're going to find out more about this. And just like we did with the Colonial Pipeline here in this state, this was a bad situation and really wakes us up to say, hey, they can destroy our infrastructure, especially our cyber infrastructure, like that.
Don't you think it's really telling that you can start listing off all the areas of weakness, the issues that have occurred, and every single time it goes back to soft, weak leadership?
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why the Chinese felt so comfortable. It's because, well, it's who was in the office.
What's Joe going to do?
Yeah, what's Joe going to do?
And the answer was nothing.
The Russians went into Ukraine because what's Joe going to do?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Hey,
and the example has been laid out there for everybody to see.
We're going to attack American forces in Afghanistan while they're leaving, because what's Joe going to do?
Nothing.
Let's not, and I know the media didn't cover this much, okay, but there were over 50 attacks from Iran on U.S. installations throughout the Middle East.
Because?
And they stopped.
What's Joe going to do?
Right, last week, in moments of weakness, when this country was falling apart and people were calling for this, what did Iran do all of a sudden for the first time in months? They attacked another U.S. installation. Everyone in this world sees a weakness of this country and the weakness in the leadership. And I hope that we exploit that and show the truth, because that's what it is. The truth. We look weak, and Kamala Harris doesn't bring any strength to this office.
She does not.
But big picture, and I think that's what's important. This was all done to Joe Biden in the interest of winning an election, or at least being competitive in the House and trying to maintain the Senate. Now, what are the unintended consequences of that? Because we're going to have 5 months worth of seeing us being tested on the world stage. And we know he's not capable of running a campaign. Is he capable of being your chief executive, your commander-in-chief? And that's where I think we've got 5 months full of danger.
And to think that Kamala Harris might be able to talk to President Xi or Vladimir Putin or whomever and convince them, to do anything, or convince them not to attack America, that's going to be an impossibility.
But over the next 5 months, what's her power?
I mean, she has none.
None?
No.
But can you imagine the leaders of the countries that we have no love for and they have no love for us hearing this?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
What is President Xi going to do with that?
What can
Nothing.
be.
He's going to sit and laugh at it. He's going to be like, okay, what do we want to do? Because let's get it done.
Yeah, well, look, maybe she has an interesting way of, doing handshakes and making sure that people feel comfortable, and maybe that's what it is. But I don't think we get to that point, because I don't think the American people will look at her and say, hey, this is someone who can go in and has good foreign policy experience. If you don't have good national security experience and keeping America safe while being border czar, how can you sit here and push your foreign policy experience? She doesn't have it. And there's no way she looks presidential in any way to me. And I think most people, when it comes to dealing with these leaders, they see the weakness. She's part of this weakness.
Iran is run by a faction of people that are religious zealots. Okay, it's the Ayatollah on all the imams. It's a wild nutcase group. Okay, so they do things that are irrational. Do not confuse when it comes to the rest of these sinister people around the world, whether you want to point out Putin or Xi or anybody else, and think that they have the same sort of ignorance to what they're doing.
Right.
They're very smart about how they go about playing games on the world stage. They're playing chess, and right now we have a commander-in-chief that can't follow checkers.
Yeah, I don't even think he has the ability to play checkers. And then, let's be honest, you talk about the religious zealots. Not only is Kamala Harris unqualified, they are going to frown on her because she's a woman.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is going to happen. I'm not saying that a woman can't handle the position, because you give me a Condoleezza Rice, I will put her up against the Iranians any day. I'll put her up against Putin any day. Not Kamala Harris.
A society that will not allow their women to be out in public, do you really think they're going to respect a female president?
Not when they talk like she does.
Hold on, they didn't even respect President Joe Biden, and there's no way they're going to respect her. And there are plenty of good, strong female leaders in this world. And does she garner the respect? No. Do I think they should respect her? Absolutely. If she's the president of the United States and she's voted in that way, 100% I think you should respect her. But the fact of the matter is, she's shown nothing to earn that respect yet by any of them.
We shall see how we move forward, because at this point, I mean, she's going to be their go-to, and they're going to rally around her like it's the greatest day in Democrat history. The 96% of the news media that is Democrat, that is leftist, will take whatever message that they have given, the orders that they've given, and run with it like there's no tomorrow. She will be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now, will they convince the American people of that? That's a big different story. It's quite different. But they're going to attempt it for sure. When we come back, Joe will drop out. One smart Republican told you this was coming a long time ago. He even gave you the timeline of it happening. And they called him a conspiracy theorist. We'll talk about it after a Neil Bortz report, the Fox News update on Xtra 106.3.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
Late last week, I said that Joe Biden would be gone by Sunday night. Usually, I'm so dead wrong with these spur-of-the-moment opinions, but this one, I just got lucky. It's bye-bye Biden. So really, the story of Joe Biden, that's over now. Now it's the story of Kamala Harris. Well, I say that the Biden story is over, but the Democrat media arm may not want it to happen just yet. To listen to the sycophants on CBS, ABC, and NBC yesterday, especially MSNBC, Joe Biden was simply the most accomplished president in the history of this country. Better than Eisenhower, certainly better than Reagan, FDR, all of them. Joe Biden, number one, the best president in history. Now, not only the media believes this, but of course, the Congressional Black Caucus believes this as well. And we all know what a brain trust they are. So now the story turns to Kamala. How does the media feel about her? Well, Martha Raddatz, or whatever her last name is, said yesterday that Kamala Harris has been pitch perfect on the campaign trail. Do you hear that? Absolutely perfect. Her actions on the campaign trail have bordered on epic. Now, from your standpoint, you, listening to the radio, you, not immersed in the effort to spread Democrat propaganda, you tell me one thing Kamala has done in the past 3.5 years that can, by any stretch of the most vivid imagination, be categorized as exemplary. Oh, hell, even categorized as noteworthy. One thing she did at the border, one mildly interesting policy proposal, anything that hints at even a basic understanding of the American system of governance or the documents of our heritage. I told you months ago this was going to be one hell of an election year. Nailed that one too. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Tax season can be stressful, but it's also a wake-up call. It's time to think beyond April and plan for your future. At Master Plan Retirement Consultants, we're not just advisors, we're your partners in building a secure retirement. At Master Plan Retirement Consultants, we understand the challenges Georgians face. That's why we offer personalized strategies to maximize your retirement income, minimize taxes, and ensure you never outlive your assets. Join the Master Plan family and let us guide you through every financial milestone. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your appointment today. Master Plan Retirement Consultants, where your journey and destination are both important. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Hey Atlanta, it's Ben, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Peach State Pride. Each and every weekend, we bring you all the issues going on around the globe and what America's ultimate role is in order to drive our agenda forward as conservatives. And if you ever miss an episode, you can download everything I've ever done on Apple, Spotify, or you can go to the podcast park. See you around, Atlanta.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely on.
It's not just former President Trump who has to run against somebody else. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. So does independent Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The day after President Biden dropped out of the 2024 race. Kennedy tells Fox.
I think the Democrats really need to do what President Obama said, which is to have an open process.
Obama has spoken to Harris, but has yet to endorse the vice president. Kennedy joins former President Trump, also saying Americans were misled, and Harris has some explaining to do.
Because she was seeing the president every day, and she was telling the American public again and again and again, he's completely capable of running the country. There's no signs of deterioration.
Well, after President Biden endorsed Harris, hundreds of Biden delegates have already pledged support for her, and several governors, including Andy Beshear from Kentucky a short time ago, backed her. weather.
Nearly $50 million were raised in grassroots donations to Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, according to a spokesperson. The Democratic fundraising platform Act Blue says it is the largest single fundraising day it has had in the 2024 cycle. So far, no other major Democrat has announced a challenge to the vice president.
Fox's Jared Halpern. Senator Joe Manchin, an independent who yesterday flirted with re-registering as a Democrat to run, says this morning he won't do that, but he's calling for a mini primary to pick the nominee. There's more grieving in Israel. 2 more hostages dead in Gaza.
The Israeli military says 35-year-old Yagev Buchstab is dead, along with Alex Danzig, whose 76th birthday would have been yesterday. Both were taken hostage by Hamas during the massacre of October 7th last year.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Of the 120 hostages Hamas still has, 46 are dead. An hour from now, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle will testify at a House hearing into the Trump assassination attempt. Security lapses. Some lawmakers are demanding Cheadle resign. America's listening to Fox News.
Well, summer's here and the weather is beautiful. Everyone has a favorite outdoor activity: golf, bike riding, bird watching, long walks. Ask 100 people, you'll get 100 answers. But if everyday aches and pains are keeping you on the sidelines, I have one answer: Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. Wherever you're hurting, back, neck, joints, or muscles, in 3 weeks or less, you'll start to feel the difference all day, every day. So whatever you like to do, swimming, pickleball, hanging out in the garden, Relief Factor can help you feel good again and let you enjoy all your favorite outdoor activities all summer long. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
If the left made any sense, they would be right. Listen to Extra 106.3.
Doug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Xtra on Extra 106.3. Historic weekend, historic Monday. Thank you so much for being here with us to discuss the craziness that's happening in the United States of America, that's happening in the Democrat Party, that's happening in politics as we lead up to the November election, actually to the DNC, which is now going to be, well, relatively chaotic. I don't know. They're probably working really hard behind the scenes to make this seem like it is such a seamless thing to happen. This is nothing to see here. There's no bumps in the road. Everybody's on board. Kamala is the person. She was the one that was going to carry the torch when Joe Biden was done after his first term anyway. So no huge surprise that they want her to be the person. I think they feel like they can control her easier than they can control somebody that they have, not been working with for years and years and years. And she's just the puppet. She's going to carry on with the same policies that Joe Biden has carried out. It will be a complete failure, just like it has been with Joe Biden. It'll just be Kamala Harris getting the blame for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now she is really the fall guy for them.
That's a great way to put it. That's exactly right.
And they don't care. They don't care at all. They are looking for somebody that they can get into the presidency in 2028. And it's not her. It's never going to be her. They've got other people that they want to groom into the position of, hey, this person could be a good leader. There are great leaders out there in their minds. I don't agree with all of them. But again, I'm going to keep throwing the name out. Westmore, Baltimore, Maryland. Look at this man. He is the ear of all of them. In fact, he came here with Biden to talk instead of Kamala Harris. So there are people in this party that they look forward to say, hey, you know what? In 2028, we have an option to win. I don't think they feel like they have an option to win right now, Carlos.
I think they have to cultivate what we've already seen on the Republican end. And you start cultivating this when you lose. Okay? That's a very honest point. Yeah. When you lose, you start to cultivate new options. So that's why you do have a Ron DeSantis. That's why you do have a Vivek Ramaswamy. That's why you have J.D. Vance. It's because you now have these Gen Zs that are ready to lead, these Gen Xers that are ready to lead, and Gen Z to pay attention to them. Because of their push for DEI, all you have is Kamala. And so those other people that we talk about, it's going to take time from 2026 to 2028 to build up the name brand. So regardless of who you bring up, that should be the Democrats' goal moving forward. It's who is that next group of leaders that are interesting to the rest of the country.
And on top of that, they're going to run with, look how young she is, how spry she is. And I've already gotten a text from a Democrat friend of mine who sent me the article, I think it was from NBC News, that talked about, well, Donald Trump's the oldest person to ever be a candidate. Well, after your guy had to stop because he was going to die. Good Lord.
The spin and the games that they play.
Dude, I was ridiculous. Like, you didn't even wait till the man was freaking fully out of the race, and you're already doing it.
Here's what the liberals, the communists, will always do. They will always tell you who they're afraid of by talking about them. Yep. And they'll also always reveal their pain points by trying to turn it back on you. And the pain point for them for the better part of several years is Joe Biden's old because they know it's effective. Yeah. So now they're, well, let me turn it around on you. And the problem ends up being, it's that Kamala Harris is not Barack Obama.
No,
okay? Like
not even close.
You're talking about somebody from a language and linguistic standpoint was a master.
Absolutely.
Okay? That Barack Obama could, talk the skirt off of a nun, okay? Like, he's that good.
Dang, son.
Wow.
Now,
I mean, that's strong.
Now, let me tell
or the pants off a man.
That's right. Now, or that. Let me read. Now, this is just a meme. And again, it's just a joke. It's not actually Kamala Harris. But if this is not encapsulate all of Kamala Harris,
I think I saw this.
I'll be running for president of the United States. We have states. States should be united. And all those states that are united have a president to preside over states that are united. That's what I'm talking about, the difference in Kamala Harris and a Barack Obama.
There was a great tweet from Elon Musk. And he's looking at the Biden HQ Twitter account.
I have them pulled up.
And right. So it's just for you listening at home. It was just a blank page. You know when Twitter doesn't or X doesn't work the way it's supposed to. It'll just say something went wrong, try again. Or someone takes it down. And Elon Musk puts it out there and said, sure did. Something did go wrong.
Something did go wrong.
I love the fact that he changed his, what do you call it, the profile picture to a dark Brandon look, but it's Elon's face with the eyes.
With
blue eyes.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Elon Musk, man, he is a national treasure.
Oh, he used to be a national treasure of the left. Isn't that funny?
Isn't it crazy how things have... And look, I don't even agree with Elon Musk on the environmental stuff, man. I'm a conservationist, not an environmentalist. Like, I disagree with him on all that stuff. But at least I value him in the fact that he cares about free speech. He wants me to be able to say the things that I believe, just like he has the right to.
Like many other people, he is an onion. He's got so many layers. And some you're going to agree with, some you will not. Like, I loved watching the Netflix documentary of them trying to get SpaceX up to speed to where they could land government contracts to start sending people back to the moon, back to Mars. It's fascinating to watch a lot of the stuff that was going on there. So Elon Musk is like a whole lot of regular independent people. There's some ways that they look at things that are more left, some things they look at things that are more right. It just so happens that when he bought Twitter, the left turned him into a demon. And I think that's the reason why he's kind of leaned into it.
Which almost makes him a deity to everybody else.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he realized at that point, look how quick they turn on someone who has a different opinion in just one aspect.
I've been giving you electric vehicles.
Right. One aspect.
We hate you, Elon.
And look at the sales of the electric vehicles and what he's done compared to every other company. You take every other company and their market share is not even close to just Tesla. And why do they get mad? Well, he doesn't want to unionize. So they attack him left and right. Free speech. They attack him. Everything else he agrees with you on, but you take
Doesn't
those,
matter.
That's how you lose people.
That doesn't matter to them. They could care less. That's the thing, though. The Democrats are great, and we had several folks talking about it on social media, how the Democrats will lock arms. It does not matter what's best for the country. It doesn't matter what's best for the candidate. We are going to lock arms, and we are marching to the same beat of the drum. We do not step out of ranks. And if you do, Elon Musk being the example, they will cut you off at the knees.
This is always about the same thing. It's just power. And what they will do for power, what they will do to secure power, what they will do to hold on to power. That's it. We just talked about in the last hour. The next 5 months are going to be very dangerous for this country on a world stage. And yet, rather than, let's say, 25th Amendment or have a functional person as the president, they recognize in the interest of winning an election, this is how we're going to play this entire game. So you, the American, and our servicemen and women are the ones in danger because of their decision-making in the interest of maintaining power.
Yeah, this is, and that's the important part, the power. Because all they have now and what they're going to continue to do is create fear. That's their one objective. They know that Kamala Harris can't talk about issues, so what is they going to have her talk about? Project 2025. So throw out the lie that that's Trump's agenda, even though we know it's Agenda 47 and the 20 points that they've put out there. But this is what they continue to do. They are misleading the American public by calling for Project 25, and that's Trump's Project 2025. That's what they're going to do. They're going to put out there that, oh, Trump is a threat. He is going to remove abortion on a federal level. He is going to make sure abortion is not legal in any. We already know that's a lie. He's going to attack Social Security and Medicare. They're going to pull on the heartstrings, and now is the time for, real Americans to really look at the difference, really look to what was said. Donald Trump will save Social Security. He'll save Medicare by not giving it to the millions and millions of illegals that are here rather than the people who actually need it. These are the messages they need to combat, because all the other side is going to do is create fear once again.
Interesting, Le'Veon Bell, the former football player, he takes Joe Biden's letter to America saying I'm resigning and I'm not going to run anymore. Yeah, I guess that's more not resigning, not going to run. And he says, looks like Trump 2024. Because I think everybody looked at what happened and goes, well, that's obvious what's going to happen. There's nobody that's going to be able to beat Trump with the momentum that he has. And he came back and said, hey, look, just to be clear, I don't care who's in office. Trump, Biden, Kanye, Oprah, Taylor Swift, doesn't matter. Just tell the truth. That's what I want to know. Are you telling the truth? And the Democrats are not.
I'm right there with Rhino. And I think that if we're being very honest, we say the White House, everybody get out and vote.
Yeah.
But I don't think this play is for the White House. This is about voter turnout to help them in the House and the Senate.
Yep.
And so it's really about, can they create an interesting ticket, and can they have something where the run-of-the-mill Democrat who is completely uninspired right now will go and show up and vote for their candidates in the House and the Senate.
That's happening. My Aunt Peg is cheerleading this morning. Someone asked me about that on Twitter. How does Aunt Peg feel? And I was like, she is so inspired right now because she has something to cheer for.
Yep.
She's had nothing. She watched the RNC with me and didn't hardly say a word because she had nothing to say. She knew what Trump was running against was dead in the water.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden she's got something to cheer for. Those run-of-the-mill Democrats with the news media behind them, this is going to be a spectacle. This is something great. This is something to celebrate.
But again, it's all down ballot. And if you don't think, because this shouldn't even be close, Trump should destroy her in this race. Just knowing that, hey, he's got the economy on his side. He's got the border on his side. What's his downfall? His mouth. We all know that. But the reality of it is this. They don't care if Kamala loses this. Again, it's the House seats and and down ballot. Their biggest strategy right now, and will be and should be, and what they do better than any Republican, is their ground game. Knocking on doors, making sure that they can go in there and use whatever they can. They're going to go into every community and say, come on, black female president, first female, first black vote. They're going to do it better. Our job is to get out there and do the same things. Make sure that we're door knocking. Like I said on Friday, we should be in Clayton County. They told them in that area, which is a majority black, over 200,000 homeowners in that area are now going to face a 31% tax increase because they are controlled. And again, Clayton County, the biggest Democrat county in the country, not just the state, the country. And we have to go into these communities, knock on the doors, and reverse the, hey, just because she's black and woman, you should vote for her. We need to be putting the issues out going, you shouldn't be paying 31% tax hikes in your property taxes because they want to take your house. We need the reality.
These are names that aren't going to resonate with you, but they should. And they will eventually. Tammy Baldwin, Sherrod Brown.
Yep.
These are people that went, Tim Kaine.
Yep.
These are senators in areas like Virginia, in Wisconsin, in Ohio, that are all in danger. Every single one of them. And so with the lead as narrow as it is, you only have to get about 3 to 4 seats to suddenly you control the Senate. And that is why you're having this change done. Because there was no wind behind the sails when it came to Joe Biden's campaign.
Fascinating that just a month ago, we were talking about, and the news media was talking about the razor-thin margins for Republicans. Right? Mm-hmm. The Republicans have razor-thin margins. Can they get a president elected and hang on to the House or gain the Senate? It's so close. It's so close. Can they hold on? Can they do this? And now all of a sudden, that's not even a conversation. Most people think the Senate's locked up and the House is what is actually in play. and the margins are razor thin on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, the House is going to be a concern. I think for the Republicans really needs to be a concern because there's 5 seats they can easily flip and take control of the House. I don't think they can win the Senate. I think they'll lose the Senate, which is funny because I think right now, based on the numbers that we're looking at and really the odds, the Senate could flip and the House could flip. I think we need to be really strong in making sure that we are in that ground game, that we are talking about, what districts need to be won, and so that we can win that and not only focus on the presidential race and going up against Kamala. We got to go up against some of these really strong Democrat leaders that have the ears of the people that will continue to vote down ballot because Trump is a threat and Trump is you're supposed to be afraid of him.
Can we bring up somebody?
Yeah, sure.
And we don't talk about him enough on the show, but he sat in this studio and said he had a dream about it. And he recognized he needed to run because there's going to be this huge push behind Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. It's Jeff Criswell.
Yeah.
In Georgia 6th, where he flat out said, he's like, listen, I felt like I was called, and I believe that Donald Trump is going, and he just talked to us about how Donald Trump is going to end up leading this huge push into the White, and he says it's going to carry a lot of us into House seats.
Yeah.
And so as much as we want to talk about, these razor thin margins, I don't think the polling right now is capturing how much of a pop culture icon, and again, for surviving an assassination attempt, that this is now a cultural icon being pushed.
Yeah, but the important part is that, people like Jeff and others that are trying to run for these seats, they need that local support. They need guys, and Carlos has talked about local and being involved in local. They need the people to go knock on the doors. They need those, volunteers that will continue to help push this, push the message out that, hey, we're here for all Americans. We want to make sure that all these communities are rebuilt. Police presence is there. We can break down the crime. We should make sure that the border is safe. We want to make sure that you're able to afford groceries. Jeff Criswell and all of them need that kind of support from, the listeners. Sign up for these events. Show up to them. Knock on the doors. Help get this done, because it can't just be that message from Trump alone.
No, you're right. And for the message that's out there, the Democrats are scrambling, they are not. They know exactly what they're doing. That's the thing. They're not scrambling at all. And I see that on every web page, from Fox News to Washington Examiner, everywhere. Democrats are scrambling. No, they're not.
So DC Drano, you can always follow him on Twitter, had something that we already addressed. Because remember, if you're listening to this show, you're way ahead of the curve on a regular basis. He talked about how they needed Joe in 2020 to win Detroit, Milwaukee, Philly, the Rust Belt. And he talked about with Kamala, a California liberal with room temperature IQ, they have no chance at winning Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, especially since the Teamsters Union boss just spoke at the RNC. That is the group of people. They're going to be very upset with the fact that you pushed out hard-working good old Joe.
Yeah. 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution. 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
It's funny. I think Joe Biden is kind of like the Atlanta Braves. When you lose Strider, Acuna Jr., all that, it's time to just kind of give up and wait till next season. You're out of it. Well, we'll see. But top stories here in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, July 22nd. Joe Biden has withdrawn from his re-election campaign and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic candidate for the 2024 presidential race. According to an AJC poll conducted by the University of Georgia's School of Public and International Affairs, former President Donald Trump leads Kamala Harris by 5 percentage points in the state of Georgia. Trump holds a 51% to 46% lead, which is outside the 3.1% margin of error. Day 3 of the CrowdStrike global outage has continued to plague travelers and cancel more flights. Hundreds of delayed flights and hour-long lines have affected travelers looking to depart Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport for the 3rd consecutive day. Delta Airlines canceled 27 flights yesterday and had 155 delayed flights with only 18 flights on time. CrowdStrike has issued a statement saying it deployed a fix and is working with all impacted customers to ensure systems are backing up and to deliver the service their customers are counting on. And in sports, the Atlanta Braves lost 2 of 3 games in the weekend series with the St. Louis Cardinals after a 6-2 loss yesterday at Truist Park. Spencer Schwellenbach took the loss for the Braves after giving up 4 runs on 7 hits, including including 3 solo home runs. The Braves will open a series with the Cincinnati Reds tonight at Truist Park. Reynaldo Lopez will be on the mound for the Braves. First pitch scheduled for 7:20. You can catch all the action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
Coming up on Extra 106.3 in the Morning Xtra, Tug, Rhino, and Lowe's, what to expect and what is legally binding now that Joe Biden has dropped out of the presidential race. Next on Extra 106.3. The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Tug, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Not only does the present structure make it possible for illegal aliens to vote, it actually encourages them to do so. So how much confidence does that give you in our elections? Just asking.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
I want to tell you about home improvements, specifically why Southern Exterior stands out as the best choice in Atlanta and the Southeast for that matter. Located in Jackson, Georgia, they've been serving the community for over 20 years with commitment and quality and trust. I've experienced it myself. I want you to experience it the same way. They cover everything from roofs to windows, doors, siding, painting, and even front porches and back decks. That's our next little project. At some point, we got to get our back deck redone. There's just places in there that make me a little bit nervous. I'll step on a board and it's like, oh. Everything seems structurally sound. You know, everything seems okay, but there's just that need. And we'd like to have the back deck extended as well. So if you are into dedicated professionals who believe in old-fashioned values, honesty, and hard work, just like you, they understand the importance of a firm handshake and delivering on the promises they've made. You can improve the curb appeal of your home and ensure it's ready for any weather, because lately we've had a lot of rain. Leaking roofs, worst thing that could possibly happen, whether you need it fixed or replaced altogether. Southern Exterior is your team, the team you can rely on. Their website, southernexteriors.co. It's southernexteriors.co, or you can call them at 877-9-SOUTHERN. That's 877-9-SOUTHERN.
Well, Sally, thank you for your time, but unfortunately, we can't offer you the position.
But why?
Well, we got the results of your background check, and we saw some red flags.
Like what?
Apparently, you were accused of dog-napping a Chihuahua named Mr. Cha-Cha.
Mr. Cha-Cha was my soulmate.
At Horizon Background Screening, we find things that other companies don't. That's why companies that use us make smarter hiring decisions. Don't let the wrong hire put your company at risk. Get the real story on your candidates at horizonscreening.com.
Who says you have to wait until December to celebrate Christmas? Hi, I'm Jaron Solomon. Right now at Solomon Brothers Jewelers, we're celebrating Christmas in July in all of our locations in Buckhead, Alpharetta, and Sharpsburg. Stop in today and enjoy our 12 days of deals on everything in our stores. Surprise your special someone with a beautiful diamond tennis bracelet, earrings, ring, or necklace. And to make your purchase even easier, Solomon Brothers Jewelers is offering up to 60 months interest-free financing. That's 5 years to pay for that special gift, interest-free. And while you're at it, why not break out the tree, string up the lights, and pour yourself some eggnog? Make this a Christmas to remember with our 12 days of deals. Don't wait until December. Find some of the biggest savings of the year at Solomon Brothers Jewelers during our Christmas in July event. Visit us on Peachtree Road in Buckhead, Old Milton Parkway in Alpharetta, and Fisher Road in Sharpsburg, and online at SolomonBrothers.com. Solomon Brothers Jewelers, now the preferred jeweler of the Atlanta Braves.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPsetc.com.
Have you considered securing your family's future, protecting your hard-earned assets, navigating complex legal matters with ease? Nelson Elder Care Law is here to guide and empower you and your loved ones. As a family-owned and family-focused business, our mission is to exceed your expectations, offering absolute assurance and peace of mind. With our trademarked absolute protection, trust, and expertise in customized estate planning, Medicaid crisis solutions, probate administration, guardianship, and conservatorship, Nelson Elder Care Law protects what matters most to you. Imagine a team dedicated to safeguarding your legacy every step of the way. Our flat fees ensure transparency, and our customized plans prioritize your family's specific needs. Are you worried about protecting your family and your legacy after you're gone? Let us help you ensure you're absolutely protected from whatever curveballs life may throw your way. Schedule a complimentary legacy planning meeting with our legal team in Marietta or Woodstock today. Contact us at 678-250-9355 or visit at nelsoneldercarelaw.com.
Self-employed in 2021, you may be entitled to up to $32,220 in COVID tax relief. At smartsetc.com, our ex-IRS auditors leverage credentialed knowledge to help you understand your claim with no upfront costs. Don't miss out on this opportunity to maximize the claim you're entitled to. Take our short eligibility quiz at smartsetc.com now. That's smartsetc.com.
Tired of all the negative media manipulation? Wake up feeling right with the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station.
Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. We're joined this morning by Brian Tyson of the electionlawyers.com. Accountability, integrity, and accuracy in elections. That's what they do for a living. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time with us this morning. What was your first thought from a legal point of view when you learned that Joe Biden was stepping down as of yesterday about 1:30 or so?
Yeah, well, good morning. My first thought legally was, number one, you got to figure out what to do with the campaign cash, and then what are you going to do with your delegates? That's kind of the two key questions. Because if your nominee ends up being the vice president, as we've heard, Joe Biden's endorsed her as the presidential candidate, he can't require his delegates to vote for the vice president, but he can strongly encourage them. They're generally loyal to him. And then she's also the only person who can take the money that's currently in the Biden-Harris campaign account that was quickly reformulated as the Harris for President account and use that. So that's about $91 million as of the last report. And so those are the two key things that they had to deal with right away, and we saw that come together pretty quickly yesterday afternoon.
Brian, we look at this, and, I talked about the delegates and then having to get to the super delegates, but I fully expect that the word is going to be passed down to all the captains and the delegates to talk and say, hey, this is overwhelmingly who we want. But there is no other option except for allowing the delegates to vote for who they want at the DNC convention. But is it really what we say, a threat to democracy to kind of force this down the Americans' throat?
It is a little bit ironic that the party that claims to be focused so much on democracy is using a very undemocratic process to make the selection of their nominee after shutting out anybody from participating in the primaries. But the reality is it's kind of how we used to pick presidents for a long time. Historically, before we had kind of voter-led primaries, a lot of these decisions were made in convention. So in a lot of ways, this is a throwback to almost the 1800s era in terms of how we chose presidential candidates. And it's up to the delegates, which has historically been kind of a figurehead role since the last 50 or 60 years. Now becomes actually something that's going to make a difference. So
Brian Tyson is our guest, the Election Lawyers Group. You can always check them out at theelectionlawyers.com. And I want to ask you about this, Brian, because part of the challenge for the Democrats now is that, and I've read about it in Wisconsin, read about it in Nevada, the amount of places where Joe Biden is still supposed to appear on the ballot, but his votes will not count. What kind of a challenge is that going to be for the Democrats to get that changed in order to have Kamala Harris or whoever end up being on the ballot?
I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem for them to get that resolved. I mean, as a technical matter, there is no nominee for the Democratic Party, even though President Biden was the presumed nominee. It's not until after the convention that happens. And although we as voters are voting for a presidential candidate on the ballot, technically we're voting for a group of presidential electors. And so those Democratic Party electors would still be able to vote for whomever they would want to vote for. And so I don't think it's going to be an issue for them to change out the president's name on the ballot, because ultimately, again, it's a group of electors you're voting for, not a particular candidate.
Here in Georgia, do you see any issues coming up in that same place? Just with the election, the way it's already set up. I mean, is there any deadlines that had to be met, or same way that'll just be smoothed over? It won't be any issue, kind of like the campaign cash.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue in Georgia. We generally have to finalize our ballots about 60 days out from the election, and so we're a little bit over 100 days out from the election right now. So there still is time to get ballots changed out. And plus, the main thing, changing a name is relatively simple when you look at it. The key is you have to have that 60-day window to allow election officials to test all the election equipment and kind of go through all the pre-election processes. I think if the president had waited another 20, 30 days or up to the convention, that could have been an issue for people getting things replaced. But at this point, I think it's going to be doable, especially if the DNC moves forward with that virtual roll call they're talking about in a few weeks.
Brian Tyson joining us here from the election lawyers. When we hear some of the AGs and some of the other Republicans saying, hey, they're going to launch lawsuits about, either the ballots or also we know the money is going to be okay with Biden and Harris, but what laws are they looking at or lawsuits when it comes to the Constitution that they think they could kind of put a stop to some of this?
Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of real good hooks on that. I think if it was after the convention, we'd be looking at a very different scope of situation, because at that point, then you've got some issues with allowing voters to vote and kind of making the decisions on that point if somebody voluntarily withdraws. Under Georgia law, we have kind of a bunch of different rules that apply if a candidate dies versus if a candidate withdraws and kind of how those things work out. But again, I think we're still far enough out that there's not going to be a real hook there. I think the most interesting thing to watch is there is at least an argument that the Federal Election Commission is going to have to look closely at how that money goes from Biden-Harris to Harris for president and where that ends up. So, I mean, since President Biden is not yet the nominee of the party, there is at least a small argument that that money can't be transferred. I don't think ultimately that'll be successful, but I think you may see some action around that. I think that's going to be the bigger target for folks than trying to play with the ballot and keeping Vice President Harris off the ballot.
Brian Tyson is our guest. Brian, I'm going to put my Democrat hat on for just a moment and ask you, if I'm one of the 14 million primary voters that voted for Joe Biden and I'm feeling burned by this situation, do I have any legal recourse? Am I able to get in touch with my state attorney general? What does the common Democrat who feels like they are having democracy ripped away from them, do they have any recourse in this?
So, unfortunately, they really don't. The presidential preference primary process, which is a lot of P's that we go through, we're selecting the pieces of the puzzle here, are selecting delegates. And so, ultimately, yes, you can hold a primary, you can cast your vote in a primary, but it's up to the Democratic Party rules about how those delegates are selected. And we learned a lot about the Democratic structure of superdelegates. They moved away from that a little bit towards more of a voter-centric model. But since it's each political party choosing how they want to allocate their delegates, there really isn't a lot of recourse for voters. And I think that's going to be one of the interesting things to watch is, I think for Democrats, the biggest challenge is, are your voters going to still be motivated? You came out, you worked for Joe Biden, you were told he was in great shape, you were told he was doing, all these quadratic equations when the doors closed, he was just doing so sharp.
Just doing push-ups on the lawn
and algebra and things.
Yeah,
jumping jacks.
So now you're faced with a situation where you were lied to about that. And so are you going to stay home? Are you really going to be motivated to come out and vote for a vice president in November who was complicit in that and assured you that the president was fine? So I think that's the bigger enemy for Democrats at this point is, can they harness any voter enthusiasm after shutting people out of the primary process?
TheElectionLawyers.com is where you can find Brian Tyson. Let's throw a wrench into this whole Harris being the nominee. What if she's not? What if she doesn't pick up steam? What if the delegates turn on her? There could be a myriad of things that could happen that maybe she wouldn't be the nominee. What happens to the cash then?
Yeah, so at that point, you're at a situation where the Democratic Party cash can still be used. So there's some joint fundraising that's happened for the Democratic National Committee. That's still available. If you're in a situation where the vice president is not the nominee, then that $91 to $100 million that's sitting in the Biden-Harris account can't be touched by the nominee. And so that person has to go raise the funds. Now, one advantage they would have in that situation is that presidential campaign could give that money to a super PAC. It could give that money to the Democratic National Committee. There are some ways for the money to reach assisting the nominee if that's the situation. But it's going to be much harder, and the nominee, him or herself, wouldn't have direct control over it if it's not the vice president.
Brian, what should we look for at the DNC? We're going to go through the delegate vote first, and then if they don't get, or if Harris doesn't get 50% of the vote, we go to the super delegates. And if that doesn't come out, what's the next step for the Democrats in order to get their nominee in there?
Once we get to the convention, if they've gotten there and they're in that situation, it's a floor fight, and I think then you're open to just whomever can persuade the delegates that can get a majority ultimately, and that's, I think, going to expose a lot of the fissures in the Democratic Party. There's a lot of different factions there, And if they go to the convention without a nominee and are having a fight on the floor, it's probably going to be some great TV to watch, but it's going to be a really difficult process for them to unite around somebody. And it really will harken back to those political conventions in the early 1900s, late 1800s, where you'd have just multiple ballot after ballot till somebody would emerge as the nominee.
Brian, and I'm going to ask you to take your lawyer hat off for a moment. Can't you imagine if that does occur and suddenly we get the rise of a Hillary Clinton, there being a collective groan of, Hillary again? How did she do this again?
Yep. No, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, anything's on the table at that point. And if you're a Democrat and it's not the vice president, you're looking for somebody, you're going to want somebody with national experience. You're going to want somebody who's run a campaign before. And maybe also by that point, you're just kind of surrender to the reality that someone's going to have to lose to Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton's already done that. So maybe we're just going to do that again and rerun that play. But it really will be fascinating to see who can build out the infrastructure. I mean, if you don't assume the Biden-Harris infrastructure that's already been built out in terms of staffing and all the other positions that are going on, I mean, you can't build a presidential campaign in a matter of days. It's a difficult, large operation, and somebody has to be able to mobilize voters, and that's what you'd be looking to do.
If you were advising Kamala Harris right now and the team around her, what would you be doing? How would you be dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that you got the most people, the most delegates, the most voters, the most friendly press coverage? What would you be doing to ensure that you are indeed the nominee? Is there a strategy there that you think would be really effective for her to do that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that you already see them running the plays that they need to. So immediately yesterday afternoon, you had the vice president on the phone with groups of delegates with state party chairs across the country, trying to just assemble the loyalty of the delegates. I think the next week is critical for the vice president to lock everybody up and not allow any other challengers to emerge. I think the additional phone calls and different endorsements that you see coming in, Governor Shapiro, others who are immediately endorsing the vice president, you want to lock up any potential people who would run against you, get them to endorse you, and then lock up the delegates as quickly as you can. Create just the real kind of tidal wave of support all the way across the board. So that way it shuts out any other competitors along the way. And it looks like what they're doing. They've already gotten pledges of delegates. I think the Tennessee delegation has already pledged all their delegates to the vice president. They're working in North Carolina as well. So they're doing exactly what they need to. Their only audience for the next week has to be delegates. And once that's all locked down, then they can pivot and start moving to the larger electorate. But they have to make sure they've got that sewn up first.
So the Democrat Party, final question here, the Democrat Party has said they're going to undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward. To
seems such far so far.
Exactly. I've never seen anybody in politics be very, very transparent. So, do you believe that? Do you think that's an actual thing? Or is this, people behind the scenes pulling the strings to get exactly what they want to see?
No, it's going to be a behind-the-scenes process. I mean, there will be a public process that people see, and there will be a private process that's going on to lock up. And one of the things we see about Democrats over time is they're very good about closing ranks. And so as you see that process move, there's all the behind-the-scenes delegate work that's going to happen. There will be a public process, quote-unquote, where there'll be at least an opportunity to place somebody else in nomination. But by the time you get to that point, the Harris team will already have the nomination sewn up with the delegates. And so while it may be an appearance of that, it's going to be a foregone conclusion if they do their work right.
What is the one thing that we're missing that we've not asked you about that you've thought about while you've watched this?
So the main thing I've been watching is what's going to happen with the existing leadership structure of the Biden campaign. If you're Vice President Harris, you don't want the president's people running your campaign. You want your people doing that. So what's going to happen to Jen O'Malley Dillon? What's going to happen to people who hold senior positions in the campaign? And then, for the vice president putting those people in, she doesn't have a team that's experienced running a national election. She didn't make it through the primary process in 2016 and so she doesn't have that experience of what she would need to do to be able to build out a national team. So I'm most curious to watch how she's going to utilize existing Biden staff that do have the experience, even if it's not a great experience, with her team and getting her folks in there so they don't have just Biden people running her campaign.
Fascinating. Yeah. Everything that we're seeing is historic, and we appreciate your time this morning. Brian Tyson, theelectionlawyers.com is where you can find Brian. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day, sir.
You too.
The TV show Veep knew this day was coming years ago, and in comedic fashion, they exploited it. We'll play it for you next on Extra 1063.
From the latest breaking news to the conservative voices you know and trust, your best new follow on social media is Extra 1063. We're at XTRA 1063 on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and LinkedIn, and pretty much any social media you scroll through every day. And we drop exclusive giveaways, new daily content, and the latest breaking news from Georgia and across this great nation. Interact with your favorite Extra personalities. Get the latest on our live events and so much more. Follow at Extra 1063 across all your social media and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice.
Oh, hey there, it's Los. Let's talk about Honda generators and where do you get yourself a Honda generator? Well, you do that over at Howard Brothers. Let me ask you a question. Do you need reliable power on the go? Look no further than a Honda generator. They are the best in their class. Whether you're camping in the great outdoors, you're powering up your work site, or maybe the best one is when you're tailgating. That's when you have a Honda generator. Or if you have an emergency. I ended up, when we had our issue in Florida with Hurricane Michael, what did I take there with me to get some work done? A Honda generator over from Howard Brothers. That is where you pick it up. You get the expert staff, the unbeatable service. They'll explain to you what you need to do, how to maintain your generator, and you just ask questions. Hey, I'm looking to use it for this purpose. I'm looking to try and do this with it, and they'll be able to guide you on the road to picking the right Honda generator. You can experience the power and reliability of that Honda generator, and it'll be your trusted source for all of your power needs. The grass is always greener when you take care of it with Honda and with Howard Brothers.
Have you heard about Sonder and their Georgia-based Medicare Advantage health plans? Sonder Health Plans is committed to revolutionizing healthcare, making it straightforward, personal, and affordable. Call them and ask if you qualify for their fantastic $400 grocery card offer and $0 premiums. They've even got their own radio show and podcast called Weekend Wellness, dedicated to keeping all Georgians healthy and happy at every age. Call 800-331-2928 or visit SonderHealthPlans.com. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
Hey, it's Tug from my friends, the Frost family of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about their family's company all the time here on Extra 1063. First Liberty has helped hundreds of small businesses grow by saying yes when the big banks say no. On Wall Street, opportunities to earn big returns are everywhere. But for Main Street investors, those opportunities are hard to find. Until now. Our First Liberty notes are now open to qualified Main Street investors, paying interest rates of 8 to 13% while helping fuel the growth of small businesses right here in Georgia. With a few basic qualifications and with as little as $25,000, qualified Main Street investors just like you can earn an 8 to 13% interest rate. If this is you, they'd love to hear from you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and consider joining the First Liberty family today. That's FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Hey Atlanta, it's Ben, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Peach State Pride. Each and every weekend, we bring you all the issues going on around the globe and what America's ultimate role is in order to drive our agenda forward as conservatives. And if you ever miss an episode, you can download everything I've ever done on Apple, Spotify, or you can go to the podcast park. See you around, Atlanta.
We've all heard it before. Buy one, get one Windows. 10% off if you call today. $500 off if you sign tonight. But are these really a special? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Hi, this is Candace with Exovations, and have I got a tip for you. Don't fall for it. It's exhausting trying to keep up with all the fake specials being offered. And we all say the same thing. We're all licensed, we're all insured, we all have 5-star reviews. At Exovations, we want to earn your business the right way. But don't take our word for it. Let us show you why we say we are different from other contractors. To find out what it means to have an on-time, on-budget, and stress-free renovation, call me today at 770-205-2995 or online at exovations.com. That's exovations.com.
Marketing is everywhere. From the billboards on the highways to the notifications on your phone, we are constantly bombarded with people trying to sell us stuff. What makes good marketing? Are you doing enough in your life personally and professionally to market yourself? You have questions, and the Marketing Madmen have answers. Tune in every Saturday, now at 4 p.m., right here on Extra 106.3 to get practical marketing advice from expert guests who are shaping and reshaping the business world. They say marketing is a madman's game. Join the Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. to find out why.
Secondary school teacher of design positions offered by Atlanta International School in Atlanta, Georgia. Teach MYP product design to students in grades 6 through 10. Construct learning experiences that challenge students, support the diversity of learners in each classroom, and demonstrate a strong commitment to concept and project-based teaching and learning. Pastoral expectations include the leadership of an advisory group of students in a specified grade level. Please send resume via email to peopleandculture@aischool.org.
The Morning Extra, Neil Bortz, and The Kimmer Show are all online for you anytime at thepodcastpark.com. Plus all of Extra's exclusive podcasts like Ben Burnett, Janelle King, and so much more. All at thepodcastpark.com. Presented by Associated Credit Union.
I did not watch the TV show Veep, but I know what it is, and I know what it's all about, and I knew what was coming when Joe Biden decided that he was going to step down, and Veep creator Armando Iannucci has been reacting to the eerie comparisons with Joe Biden's step away from the presidential race. Do you remember this scene?
I'm not leaving. POTUS is leaving. He's not going to run for a second term. I'm going to run.
Yes, wow. I did not see that coming. Lead him on. He was fire. Bam.
Woo, let's go to that
Who's this tall living on my boat?
And he says in his own Twitter account, still working on the ending.
Yeah, still working on the ending. You know, it's funny because like for a long time, like years ago, we were talking about like Veep and like the odd like comparisons throughout. I mean, not just that part because we didn't see this coming, but so many other parts of where, you know, Julia Louis-Dreyfus did things that were like, wow, that looks just like our VP.
Kamala Harris and the way that she acts and behaves.
So funny how that life imitates that art.
But the Simpsons have been so good at it over the years. You can even down to Haktua Girl. Have you seen the thing where, you know, she has all of a sudden been a part of the Simpsons, I guess, predictions that's come true. And so I don't know how it all works. Art imitating life, life imitating art, or somewhere in between. But this one, as soon as I watched it last night, and it took me back to seeing this before, and, you know, because like Rhino said, this has been circulating for months and months, if not years, for 3.5 years with VP Harris.
And this is what happens. In the span of a 24-hour period, the amount of people that have gone back to find all the predictions, everything that was laid out, like, I know he comes across as crazy. I know he's got a little bit of weirdness to him. But man, Alex Jones keeps nailing stuff too.
Yeah.
Like that guy was telling you, here's when the president's going to resign from seeking office once again. He's going to hold on to the office, but here's what he's going to do. And he said it's going to happen the weekend of the 20th. It's like, okay, we'll see. Sure enough, like some of these people are nailing this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. And it is one of those things, like, how does it happen or what? It kind of reminds me, like, of John Edwards or one of the psychics that, you know, everybody, like, they nail it. And then you're like, come on, man. Like, everybody has an uncle. Like, I see we were joking this weekend, like, the letter W, water. Water, yes. I have water. I drink water. You know, like those kind of things that, you know, we just kind of realize. But it's very bizarre.
With John Edwards, it was the National Enquirer, which always has just the tiniest hint of truth to keep them from getting sued. And then they go off on a crazy tangent. But with John Edwards, it was totally different. Yeah. They actually reported on it as a real story and didn't fabricate anything. And then were completely right. I mean, they're the people that's like, you know, this child was birthed of bats and aliens. I mean, that was the kind of things that they would talk about. And you're like, oh my gosh, as you're standing there.
There's like a little bit of truth and a lot of embellishment, but that little kernel of truth, you're like, oh. And I think a lot of it is because you can kind of tell human nature and which way it's going, which is why, you know, a lot of people seem like they can predict things. But then you go back and look and go, okay, well, I could see how that came, but sometimes that Simpsons one, man.
Yeah,
like the one with Trump and all the leaders holding the globe, and then they got the picture of it in real life. Like, I don't even understand some of that stuff.
No kidding. Lowe's, this is something I said to Rhino on Friday.
You love
how,
him?
Well, yeah, of course I love him. Yeah, that's it. That's
okay. You should tell him every day.
Rhino, I love you, buddy.
I love you too. I love both of you.
Love you, love you, JoJo. And I'm missing.
We actually cried that Carlos in between breaks. You don't know. When we missed you so much, we would cry and hold each other while you were gone.
I understand. I thought the same thing too.
My grandparents were married like 65 years, and when my grandmother passed, my grandfather lasted about 6 months.
Yeah,
I mean they were just inseparable. They were just
pretty typical of partners that long. Yeah,
that he lost his will to live. Joe Biden has been in government for 50 years. All of a sudden, he's not. I said this. I'm not wishing anything bad on him. I'm just wondering if you take the one thing that's kept him going, which is his job, his responsibilities. Look, I'm not saying he was good at any of it, but I'm just telling you, when you take someone's will to live, could the end be near for him? And I'm not saying I hope that happens. Of course I don't.
It's
I'm just
not
telling you.
Morbid, but you do see what happens. Like, let's say, for instance, Jimmy Carter is a really good man, and he found a career after the presidency. Habitat for Humanity became, him.
His calling.
And it became what he was about, and it built in this new life for him. And so, not that he was ever going to pass when he left, but there's a reason why that man is hung into so much, because he's been like, listen, I lived a pretty full life. I'm with you. I don't think it's morbid to talk about what happens when you lose what's defined you.
That's right. And that's my fear, is that it turns morbid. I'm not trying to make it that way.
I would love to think that he and Jill ride bikes out in Delaware.
They'll enjoy life, man.
Enjoy life. I would love to think that, and I hope that's what happens. He drives his Corvette around, and, classified documents keep flying out of the back or whatever. Yeah, I don't think he could drive.
I don't think we're driving anymore.
But the documents thing's a possibility.
Yeah.
Or
someone takes him for a ride. Like Hunter's like, hey, Pop, let's go and do some lines and throw some classified documents into the ocean.
We've all seen, what is it, the Chevy ad?
Yeah.
Where it drives the grandmother around, just take her around to some places.
Absolutely.
Kind of gets the brain going again.
I would love to see Joe really enjoy retirement.
Yeah, man. I just don't...
enjoy the beach.
I'm fearful that is not going to be the way this
Go play
out.
golf with Donald.
Yeah.
He's giving you 10 aside, man.
Yeah, I know, but I just
take that money.
I think now more than ever, I think that hatred of Donald Trump is probably magnified, because he feels like that Trump's the reason that he couldn't continue on.
The debate ended it, and we can blame Donald Trump for it. It's not.
No, it's not. No, I'm not saying it is. It's his own party.
His own illness, coupled with what his party decided to do. The idea that people still reject the notion that he's been forced out.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's forced out, man.
So silly.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, and I saw someone tweet it, and I wish I could give him credit, I don't, but they didn't remove Joe Biden because he was old and had dementia. They removed him because they got caught. That's what this is about.
That's pretty good.
And everybody knew it, though. That's the thing. Did they get caught? They did. Yes, they did, in actuality, but everybody knew it. So if you know what's happening, did you really get caught? Or just get exposed for what we already knew?
But you pulled it off for 4...
you pulled it off for that long.
If I was to tell you that I'm going to get Tug elected to the mayor of Atlanta by not campaigning, by keeping him in a basement, by not having him be seen by people on a regular basis, and yet it then happens... Man, I can pull off pretty much anything, right?
Right. I mean, think about it. 3 years, they played along. It was a cheap fake. They're just, MAGA extremist lies. They're the threat, blah, blah, blah. They're lying about this. It wasn't until they got caught by their own voters that this was the truth, and that the wool had been pulled over all the sheep's eyes, and then all of a sudden now they get a shave and see, oh my gosh, he really is that bad.
The amount of people that were calling anything that you put out there as right-wing propaganda. It's like, hold on a second. I'm just showing you the video of your own guy unable to speak.
Well, it's edited. It's a cheap fake.
Well, exactly. And then you found out. You found 53 million people saw it all at once.
Wait, it's not a cheap fake.
And they did a really good job throughout those 3 years of not allowing him to be a part of press conferences, having real press conferences, having to answer questions that weren't scripted, ready to go. He never had to do any kind of question taking in any regard. So they were able to hide it all until they got found out, because there was no way in a debate format that they were able to hide it anymore. And that's when they got caught. And that's why they removed him, not because he had dementia.
Next question. and this is going to be for the remainder of the week. Where is Joe Biden?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, he's got COVID. That's what they tell me.
You pull out of the election, yet you will not appear in front of the nation to let them know?
And even if you had COVID.
Thursday.
You're telling me you don't have a camera right there in Delaware to go ahead and make this most important statement in history?
Call a news conference. You are the leader of the free world. Where are you?
We shall find out. They say
do it on your phone.
Like this, they're right. A little Zoom call. I mean, it would be easy to just say it, but they say later in the week. We shall see. 9 o'clock hour brought to you by Southern Exteriors. Get a hold of them today. They've been servicing Atlanta since at least 25 years. So if you need something done to the exterior of your home, get it done with Southern Exteriors. 8779 Southern. SouthernExteriors.co is their website. We will be back at it tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. here on Extra 106.3. Going to leave it with the Glenn Beck program for Rhino, for Lowe's, and for Board Up Goey Virgin River. Intern Andrew, we miss you. My name is Tug. Y'all come back now. You're here.
So long, gay boys.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Tug, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Not only does the present structure make it possible for illegal aliens to vote, it actually encourages them to do so. So how much confidence does that give you in our elections? Just asking.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.